Chapter 2447. Brother Long, are you confident? Long didn't have the slightest bit of confidence because he knew very well what Longao's words meant. He was looking forward to it and couldn't wait. Longao nodded and then shook his head. What did he mean? Longao nodded and shook his head, which made Long a little curious. He did not know what the other party meant. Brother Long, to be honest, although I've figured out the situation, it's not easy for you to devour the divine dragon's power. Long certainly knew about this. However, Long knew that Brother Long wouldn't have done this if he wasn't confident. Even if there was only a slight chance, he couldn't let it go. Long knew that as long as he could devour the old ancestor's power, he could reach peak Starry Sky Immortal even if he couldn't break through half-step Starry Sky Dominator. In this way, when he fought Booby, even if Booby had the Dragon Clan's treasure, he might not be his opponent. If he could devour the old ancestor's power, he would have a chance to take revenge. Otherwise, who knew how long he would have to wait? Brother Long, I haven't thought of a better way. Let me think about it. Nodded. Long told Longao about what happened. This is a little tricky. If you don't have the help of the Supreme Treasure, it's hard to say who will win the battle between you and Booby. If you want to defeat him, even if you don't break through the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm, you must reach the peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm. How could Long not know this? Even if he knew, what could he do? It was easy to think, but difficult to do. The two of them did not leave. Instead, they casually found a relatively secluded place and settled down for the time being. Longao had been thinking about how to make Long devour the divine dragon's power. In the forbidden land of the dragon vein, Booby, who had just stepped in, suddenly changed his expression and said to himself, "Someone came here without anyone noticing. Could it be Long?" It was impossible. It was too ridiculous. Booby knew that as long as the five of them didn't leave the Dragon Clan's plane, they wouldn't be able to enter the forbidden land of the Dragon Vein without anyone noticing. Moreover, Long was standing right in front of him. Unless Long could split into two, but could Long do that? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that something was amiss. Why did Long come all of a sudden? Clearly, he was stalling for time. Why did Long do this? Could it be? Booby was no fool. In an instant, he had already guessed Long's intentions. Fortunately, the Dragon Vein was fine. Otherwise, he wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Booby got down on his knees and said respectfully, "I hope the Dragon Clan will bless me and help me become a half-step Starry Sky ruler." Booby didn't know anything about the old ancestor. However, the Dragon Vein was the supreme treasure of the Dragon Clan. Otherwise, his cultivation wouldn't have reached this level. However, it was almost impossible for him to break through the half-step Starry Sky Sovereign Realm. Devouring Dragon Vein. Countless dragon emperors of the Pinnacle Dragon Clan had never thought of such a crazy thing. Only Booby had thought of this because in his heart, even if it meant risking his life, he would devour the Dragon Vein. This was his only chance to break through to the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm. As for whether he could use the Dragon Vein to break through to the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm, he didn't have the slightest confidence. Even if he only had 10% confidence, Booby wouldn't have waited for so many years. He would have devoured the Dragon Vein long ago. In the end, Booby was afraid of death. He was afraid that if he devoured the Dragon Vein, not only would he not break through to the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm, but he would also be devoured by the Dragon Vein and be doomed eternally. He clenched his fists tightly. Booby stared at the huge Dragon Vein in front of him. His heart was in a mess. He didn't know what to do. Should he devour the Dragon Vein? Or should he not devour the Dragon Vein? After thinking about it, Booby chose to give up in the end. He wasn't confident that he could devour the Dragon Vein and break through to the half-step Starry Sky Ruler Realm. If he was unlucky, the Dragon Vein would devour him and he would be done for. If my primordial spirit could double and reach the old ancestors' level, I believe I can devour the dragon vein. Not only that, Ububi knew very well that even if his primordial spirit could double and reach the old ancestors' level, he would still have to integrate with the supreme treasure of the dragon clan. Otherwise, he wouldn't dare to devour the dragon vein so casually. It was too difficult to integrate with the supreme treasure of the dragon clan. If he could integrate with the supreme treasure of the dragon clan, there was no doubt that his strength would increase by another level. What kind of concept was that? Ububi stood up and looked at the supreme treasure of the dragon clan in his hand. He sighed deeply. However, he had no choice but to sit on the ground and borrow the power of the dragon vein to continue integrating with the supreme treasure of the dragon clan. Outside the dragon clan's dimension, Longao was extremely depressed. He knew that Yulong's strength would increase tremendously if he devoured the power of the divine dragon. However, even if he knew, he couldn't think of a good way to deal with it. What should he do? He definitely couldn't devour it by force. After all, he couldn't be sure if the old ancestor of the dragon clan had died. If he didn't, the consequences would be unimaginable if Longao tried to devour it. Not to mention devouring the power of the divine dragon, he might even be devoured by the divine dragon. He had to be 100% confident in this matter. Longao didn't want to kill Yulong, otherwise he would blame himself for the rest of his life. Brother Long, if you can't think of a good way, why don't we leave this place first? Yulong already knew that Longao wasn't willing to use the dragon vein to increase his strength. In that case, it would be nonsense to continue staying here. It would be better to leave this place and return to the mysterious dimension. If he could find the source of power, it would be of great help to him and Longao. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? However, he shook his head and said, "Brother Yulong, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for you. No matter how difficult it is, we can't leave this place. If you can devour the dragon vein, not only will your cultivation increase greatly, you might even break through to the half-step starry sky sovereign realm." Break through to the half-step starry sky sovereign realm? Yulong was very curious. He didn't quite believe it. Even if he devoured the dragon vein, it shouldn't be a problem for him to break through to the half-step starry sky sovereign realm. Brother Long, how confident are you? I'm 100% confident. As long as you devour the dragon vein, you should be able to break through to the half-step starry sky sovereign realm. Chapter 2448. For some reason, Longao always believed that if Yulong devoured the dragon vein, his cultivation could smoothly break through to half-step starry sky ruler. Longao believed in his intuition. Yulong didn't have the slightest doubt. Brother Long, as everyone knows, there are 9 half-step starry sky rulers in the vast starry sky. The biggest reason why they could become half-step starry sky rulers is because of secret realms. Everyone knew that there were 9 secret realms. Everyone knew that to become a half-step starry sky ruler, one had to devour secret realms. In the vast starry sky there were only 9 secret realms. Could he really become a half-step starry sky ruler by devouring the old ancestors' power? Yulong didn't have much confidence in his heart. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? After thinking about it, Longao said, "Brother Yulong, let's not talk about whether you can become a half-step starry sky ruler by devouring the dragon vein. Let's think about how to devour the dragon vein's power first." Brother Long, is the old ancestor really still alive? Even now, Yulong was still a little shocked because he didn't dare to believe that the old ancestor was still alive. The entire starry sky knew about the old ancestor's death. Long too, the first-generation dragon emperor of the peak dragon race, had reached the limit of peak starry sky immortal realm. He was only one step away from becoming a half-step starry sky ruler. For some unknown reason, Long too suddenly perished countless years ago and vanished without a trace. Most likely, no one knew that Long too was still alive. He believed that other than Longao, no one else knew about this matter. Longao nodded. Regarding this point, Longao was 100% sure. Brother Yulong, I'm almost certain about this. Yulong and Longao began to discuss how to devour the dragon vein. Yulong's physique was the most suitable for devouring dragon veins. If others devoured them, the effect would definitely not be as good as Yulong's. Martial Sky Continent. Outer Sea, Crystal Palace. Father, we've been searching for so long, but we still can't find the 12 primal chaos steels. If others discover them, we'll be in big trouble. Yidugu knew very well what would happen if others devoured the 12 primal chaos steels. Once that happened, the vast starry sky would have 12 more starry sky rulers. However, Master God Diviner simply smiled and didn't seem to care at all. Even if all 12 Chaos Stone tablets are found and devoured, we don't have to worry too much. 12 Chaos Stone tablet. Adding on the other 12 Chaos Stone tablets, there were a total of 24 Chaos Stone tablet. Out of the 24 Chaos Stone tablets, only his Divine Divination Stone tablet was a high-grade one. Perhaps at this time, the level of the Primal Chaos Stone tablet didn't mean anything. But what about the future? As long as one could grasp the power within the Primal Chaos Stone tablet, the grade of the Primal Chaos Stone tablet would immediately appear. Not only that, Master God Diviner knew that it didn't matter who obtained the Primal Chaos Stone tablet. The most important thing was to think of a way to quickly obtain the power within the stone tablet. If he could obtain the power within the Primal Chaos Stone tablet, then nothing would be a problem. How could Yi Gudu not know his father's intentions? However, he was still extremely worried. Once the 12 Chaos Stone tablets were devoured by others and they became Starry Sky rulers, no one could be certain that these so-called Starry Sky rulers would be able to secretly obtain the Primal Chaos power within the Primal Chaos Stone tablet. Although the Primal Chaos Stone tablets were divided into low-grade, mid-grade, and high-grade Primal Chaos Stone tablets, if someone could obtain the Primal Chaos power within a low-grade Primal Chaos Stone tablet, then they could still instantly kill the owner of a high-grade Primal Chaos Stone tablet. Father! Before Yidugu could speak, Master God Diviner waved his hand and said, Dugu, I know what you're thinking. The Primal Chaos Stone tablets aren't something we can control. If we're unlucky, even if we scour the entire starry sky, we won't be able to find them. This was the truth, but Yidugu wasn't willing to accept it. Father, what should we do about Longao? Longao? When it came to Longao, Master God Diviner felt a bit helpless. This was because even he couldn't see through Longao. If this situation continued, who knew what would happen in the future? Killing Longao was simply impossible. If he didn't kill Longao, then he was afraid of raising a tiger in the future. Dugu, what do you think your father should do now? Hearing his father's words, Yidugu seemed a bit surprised. This was because he had never imagined that his father would suddenly ask him this question. For so many years, especially when it came to Longao's matters, his father didn't need him to care. He couldn't even get a word in. What did his father mean? In his heart, Yidugu naturally hoped that his father would personally kill Longao. Although he didn't think much of Longao, nothing was absolute. If Longao really could grow, then wouldn't he be causing trouble for himself for nothing? Because of this, Yidugu thought for a moment, then said, Father, in my opinion, we should cut the weeds and eliminate the roots as soon as possible. I believe that you asked this because Longao is becoming more and more unpredictable. If this continues, here, Yidugu paused for a moment, then continued, according to my guess, the 2 Primal Chaos tablets that were taken in the Primal Chaos plane might not have left on their own. Longao might have done this on purpose to deceive others. Continue. Master God Diviner's face was very gloomy. He had gradually sensed that Longao was becoming more and more unpredictable. It would be a lie to say that he wasn't willing to accept this at all. However, Master God Diviner was still very conflicted. He didn't know if he should act against Longao, because Longao was the key. If he killed Longao, it would delay him from obtaining the primal chaos power within the primal chaos tablet. He wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Father, Longao is cunning and mysterious. If he really does obtain the 2 primal chaos tablets, not only will he be able to refine them, but he will also become the ruler of the universe. No one can guarantee that Longao will be able to control the power within the primal chaos tablet. What if he does? Yidugu didn't continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Master God Diviner understood. He thought for a moment, then nodded. But in the end, he shook his head and said, I understand what you're saying, but I can't easily give up on this opportunity. I've waited for so many years, and I can't wait any longer. Yidugu seemed to want to say something, but when he saw his father's expression, he forced himself to hold back. Chapter 2449. He wasn't willing. But more than that, he was furious. Yidugu couldn't do anything about it. Although he had begun to refine the primal chaos tablet, he still hadn't become a star ruler. Taking 10,000 steps back. Even if he could refine the tablet and become a star ruler, he wouldn't dare go against his father's will. After Yidugu left, only Master Godly Mathematician was left in the Outer Sea Crystal Palace. He sat there quietly. What should he do? To kill or not to kill? Master Godly Mathematician couldn't make up his mind. Although he had decided not to kill Longao for now, it didn't mean he wouldn't kill him forever. He had calculated that Longao might be the key to obtaining primal chaos power. Because of this, Longao couldn't die for now. The variable was indeed the biggest variable in all of this. Master Godly Mathematician was helpless. He had divined countless people in the vast universe, but Longao was the only one he couldn't do anything about. Soaring Dragon Plane. Soaring Dragon Empire. Mu Lin and Aoshue were worried to the extreme after Long Yun left the Empire to train. However, they didn't go out to look for him in the end. Mother, Yun has been out for so long. Shouldn't we take action? Aoshue wasn't too worried about Longao. Only a few of them knew that Longao had the primal chaos palace and could enter it at will. According to Longao, as long as he could enter the primal chaos palace, not to mention ordinary people, even star rulers wouldn't be able to locate it. Aoshue wasn't too worried. However, Aoshue was very worried about her son. Long Yun didn't have the primal chaos palace. If he was in danger, wouldn't Yun The more she thought, the more she didn't dare to think. Thinking of this, before Mu Lin could speak, Aoshue continued, Mother, why don't we take action immediately? Mu Lin waved her hand. How could Mu Lin not be worried? She sighed deeply and said, Aoshue, I know you're worried about Yun safety, but you have to know that Ao is right. Yun needs power. Now that Yun has successfully broken through to Star Sky Legend, as long as he doesn't encounter Star Sky Immortal or Peak Star Sky Immortal, he should be fine. Was that really the case? In fact, even Mu Lin was not completely confident. Even if Yun did not meet with such a super powerful being, the universe was filled with dangers. Who knew what sort of dangers Yun might encounter? If he was lucky, he would be safe. If he was unlucky, who knew what would happen? However, Mu Lin still gritted her teeth and continued, If we don't let Yun leave, I believe Yun will never grow up. This is also something you don't want to see. How could Aoshue not know what her mother was like? Even so, Aoshue was still worried. At this moment, Yun slowly walked in. Yun knew the conversation between Aoshue and her mother without asking. Both Yun and Mu Lin loved Yun very much. Therefore, Yun was also very worried about Yun's safety. She didn't know how Yun was doing. Mother, Sister Aoshue, you want to leave the Empire and look for Yun's whereabouts? Mu Lin shook her head and said, Yun, Aoshue is very worried about Yun's safety. She hopes we can go out and look for Yun. However, Yun needs to train. If we rashly go out and look for Yun-er, we might not be able to find Yun-er. We might even encounter danger. Regardless of whether it was Aoshua or Yuin, they were very clear about what their mother meant. If they encountered any danger, they knew very well that it would make Longao worry. It wouldn't be worth it. Yuin said helplessly, "Mother is right." Sister Aoshua, when Yun-er left this time, not only did Brother Long let a Star Realm Legend Corps slave follow her, he even set up a forbidden power. Hearing this, Aoshua and Mu Lin were very curious. They didn't know what this meant. Aoshua couldn't wait and asked, "Sister Yuin, what do you mean?" "It's very simple. As long as Yun-er is in danger, Brother Long will appear to save her." Apart from Yuin, no one else knew about this, including Aoshua and Mu Lin. However, Yuin didn't want to see the two of them so worried. Although Longao repeatedly told her not to tell them before leaving, she still told them in the end. "So that's how it is. I don't know when Yun-er will come back this time. I don't know where Brother Long is either." When she thought about how both father and son were gone, Aoshua felt very helpless. However, there was nothing she could do. Even Sister Yuin and her mother couldn't stop Brother Long. Yuin smiled. How could she not know what Aoshua was thinking? "Sister Aoshua, we've already consumed the Chaos Tablet. If we want to help Brother Long, why don't we refine the Chaos Tablet as soon as possible? Once we become the rulers of the universe, no one in the universe will be able to hurt us." When the Chaos Tablet was mentioned, Aoshua became more and more depressed. She said in a very depressed voice, "Ever since we consumed the Chaos Tablet, no matter how hard we tried, we couldn't succeed. If this continues, no one knows when we'll be able to refine the Chaos Tablet." It wasn't just Aoshua. Even Mu Lin and Yuin had the same problem. It was a very special situation. However, the three of them also knew that refining the Chaos Tablet wasn't something that could be done so easily. According to Longao, when the 12 of them had obtained the Chaos Tablet at the same time, it had taken them countless years to refine the Chaos Tablet with great difficulty and finally become the rulers of the universe. Compared to them, the three of them paled in comparison. It wasn't even worth mentioning. Thinking of this, before Yuin could say anything, Aoshua continued, "Sister Yuin, you're right. If we want to help Brother Long with all our strength, there's only one way, and that's to continuously strengthen ourselves. And the only way to strengthen ourselves is to refine the Chaos Tablet as soon as possible and become the rulers of the universe." Mu Lin didn't say anything. She just sat to the side and listened quietly. Yuin nodded in agreement and said, "Yun-er will definitely be fine. Why don't we go into seclusion and refine the Chaos Tablet as soon as possible? Hopefully, we can become the rulers of the universe as soon as possible and help Brother Long, so that he won't have to run around for us." Everything Longao did was for his people. There was no doubt about that. Because of this, Mu Lin, Aoshua, and Yuin all chose to immediately go into seclusion to cultivate. It wasn't just the three of them. Almost everyone who had consumed the Chaos Tablet had chosen to go into seclusion to cultivate. Chapter 2450. Longao and Yulong were ready to step into the forbidden land of the Dragon Vein. However, the two were also very depressed. It was almost impossible to enter the forbidden land of the Dragon Vein without anyone noticing. Unless the 5 of them left the Dragon Plane, the 2 could do it. But would the 5 of them leave? For so many years, Yububi had never taken a step out of the Dragon Plane. "Brother Yulong, even if we continue to step into the Dragon Plane now, it won't be of much use." He nodded. How could Yulong not know what Longao meant? However, if they didn't enter the forbidden land of the Dragon Vein, how could they think of a way to devour the old ancestors' power? "Brother Yulong, come with me." Yulong was very curious. He didn't know what Longao meant, but he still followed. It turned out, Longao's meaning was very simple. Since they couldn't deal with the Peak Dragon race for the time being, they might as well go to the mysterious plane and try to find the source of power again. Longao had always had a question, and that was whether or not his primal chaos palace would continuously increase in power as his strength increased. If that was the case, then things would be much easier to handle. It didn't matter. Yulong didn't say much. Although he wasn't optimistic about this. After so many years, he had thought of countless ways, but he still couldn't find the source of power. The mysterious plane. Enemies meet on a narrow road. Longao and Yulong didn't even really step into the mysterious plane when they met the two people from before, Gongmu and Yichong. Was it intentional? Or was it a coincidence? A follower. Trash is fine. Longao, do you really think you can compete with us? Ignoring the two, Longao just sneered. He looked at Yulong and said, Brother Yulong, if you have the chance, are you willing to take care of this trash? Of course, he was willing. But so what if he was willing? Others didn't know, but Yulong knew that Longao was just bluffing. He didn't have the strength to kill the two at all. If they really fought, they would most likely be the ones to suffer in the end, not Gongmu and Yichong. However, under such circumstances, he could only bite the bullet and say it. Yes. If he wasn't angry, then he wouldn't be a peak starry sky immortal. Be it Gangmu or Yichong, they were both true limit starry sky immortals, the strongest beings in the vast universe. But now? Due to Longao's heaven-defying ability, the two of them did not dare to casually make a move. They could only endure it. But at this time, he could no longer tolerate it. All of a sudden, Gangmu and Yichong raised their heads and laughed crazily. Their laughter was filled with endless contempt and mockery. Not only did he despise Longao, but he also despised the two of them. The two of them had already thought it through. If the other party really had the strength and confidence to kill the two of them, why wait until now? They would have made their move long ago. The biggest reason why the other party was unwilling to make a move was because the other party was simply unable to kill the two of them. In other words, Longao's heaven-defying divine ability was just a decoration. The gap between realms could not be made up for by other things. Longao, are you still trying to fool us at this point? Fool? Longao smiled. How could he not know what the two of them were thinking? But there was no trace of fear on his face. He was very calm. Before the two of them could continue talking, Longao suddenly took out the primal chaos axe, and then fiercely swung it. They had already seen how powerful Longao was. Although they did not believe that Longao could kill them, the space crack was very scary. If they were accidentally swallowed by the space crack, it would be too late to regret. The two of them did not dare to be careless and immediately dodged. But the result? Although Longao fiercely swung the axe, he did not use any strength. This blow was just to scare the two of them. Looking at the sorry state of the two, Yulong laughed out loud. His laughter was very exaggerated. The meaning behind his laughter was very clear. Gangmu and Yichong were not fools. Of course, they could understand the meaning of the other party's laughter. Both of their faces were very gloomy, as ugly as it could get. How could they not know the meaning of Longao and Yulong's words? Because of this, they had completely lost their face this time. Before the battle even started, they had already lost. The two of you, let's not talk about your strength first. Just your courage alone is something that I don't dare to compliment. I'm impressed. The more Longao acted like this, the more gloomy the two of them were. Kill. Just as the two of them were about to make their move, Longao had already made his move. Under the spatial teleportation, the distance between the two of them was not very far. With just one spatial teleportation, he had already arrived in front of the two of them. Teleport? The two of them were experienced and knowledgeable. Of course, they knew what kind of magical power Longao had suddenly used. This kind of spatial teleportation, even they couldn't possess it. While they were shocked, before they could make a move, the primal chaos axe in Longao's hand had already smashed towards them. The two of them were frightened and immediately dodged, but the result was exactly the same as before. There was no strength at all. This time, Longao tricked the two of them again. Longao, you are courting death. The two of them were furious to the extreme. Longao had done this again and again. He did not put them in his eyes at all. If this continued, there was no need to fight at all. They would directly throw their faces to the ground. The two of them rushed towards Longao from the left and right. If it was the previous Longao, he would definitely not be able to contend with an ultimate starry sky immortal expert. However, the current Longao had smoothly broken through to the starry sky legend realm. Although he was still unable to kill an ultimate starry sky immortal expert, it was more than enough for him to exchange a few moves. Longao's speed was extremely fast. The primal chaos axe in his hand was launched one move after another. This time it was real. The two of them were not prepared at all. If it was not for their strength, perhaps the two of them would have already fallen. Edited by Lifer. Fingerfox Yu Long sneered. Although he knew that he was not a match for the two of them, he still attacked them without hesitation. In the blink of an eye, the four of them had already engaged in a fierce battle. They were exchanging blows with each other and were having a great time. If it was a normal battle, Longao and Yulong would definitely not be a match for the two of them. However, due to Longao's several illusions, the two of them were very passive. Thus, Yulong and Longao began to gain the upper hand. This was definitely not the way to go. Longao certainly knew that the two of them would definitely not be able to kill Gongmu and Yichong. If they continued to fight, it would only be a waste of time. What should he do? If only he could bring out the Starry Sky Corpse Demon. At least there would be a glimmer of hope. At least he would not be so helpless now. Chapter 24:51. There was no point in continuing the fight. Should they just give up? They were unwilling. If this continued, they could only choose to give up. Yulong was very clear about this. Yulong, on the other hand, wasn't too dissatisfied. After all, he had been fighting with the two of them for so many years without any results. Whether it was Gangmu or Yichong, their attacks were getting more and more terrifying. They were almost certain that Longao and Yulong didn't have the strength to kill them. They had wasted so much time. Both sides were trying their best. If it were other Star Sky legends, they would definitely suffer a great loss. Only Longao's primal chaos axe kept slashing out spacecrack. It would be a lie if they said they weren't afraid. In this way, they didn't dare to use their full strength. If they were unlucky, who knew what would happen? There was a loud bang. The two sides were forced to separate. They looked at each other and could see the deep killing intent in each other's eyes. Longao, don't bluff. If you can break through to Star Sky Immortal Realm, maybe we will be afraid of you. But now, humph. Gangmu and Yichong's meaning was clear. They were no longer afraid of Longao. Longao didn't care at all. I'm just a Star Sky legend. As you said, if I break through to Star Sky Immortal Realm, will you still be able to fight me? Hearing Longao's words, Gangmu and Yichong's faces became gloomier and uglier. They certainly knew Longao's supernatural power. Now that Longao was just a Star Sky legend, they might be able to suppress him. But if Longao broke through to Star Sky Immortal Realm, would they still be able to suppress him? Gangmu and Yichong didn't have the slightest confidence. The more it was like this, the more they wanted to kill Longao. As for relying on Longao to find the source of power, it was almost impossible. They snorted coldly. How could Longao not know what the two of them were thinking? Gangmu Yichong, I believe you've seen my talent. I'm confident that I'll be able to break through from Star Void Legend to Star Void Immortal Realm within a year. At this point, Longao did not continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. Ha ha ha, Longao, do you think you can wait until then? The two of them had no doubts about Longao's confidence. After a year, they didn't know much about Longao, but they knew a lot about Longao's talent. If it were anyone else, it would be almost impossible for them to break through to the starry sky immortal realm in just 1 year. However, Longao did not have any problems. If Longao's cultivation really broke through the so-called starry sky immortal realm a year later, would they still have a foothold? Cut the weeds and dig up the roots to prevent future troubles. Before the two of them could make a move, Longao and Yulong had already turned and left. The two people's speed was very fast. In a short while, they had already disappeared without a trace. They didn't chase after them. It was not that they didn't want to chase after them, but they knew that even if they did, it would be useless. They might as well not chase after them. Gang Mu sighed deeply. Gang Mu said helplessly, "This person's talent is too strong. He'll definitely break through from Star Void Legend to Star Void Immortal Realm within a year. At that time, you and I won't be able to fight against him. We have to think of a way. Otherwise, we'll all be finished." Gang Mu was worried about the same thing as Yi Chong. Yi Chong's face was also very ugly. He said coldly, "You're right. We have to deal with this person as soon as possible." The two of them were very fast. Yulong said with a smile, "Brother Long, I didn't expect that you could deter them. They didn't chase after us." Longao certainly knew that the two of them didn't chase after them. He was almost certain that Gang Mu and Yi Chong would not be so reckless. In any case, the two of them didn't have full confidence. Otherwise, they would have stopped them before. "Brother Yulong, the two of them won't give up. We have to find a way to get rid of them first. Otherwise, they'll become our hindrance, and we won't be able to focus on finding the source of power. That's the best. However, the two of them are very strong. With our strength, even if we join forces, we won't be able to kill them." How could Longao not know about Yulong's worries? Even so, Gang Mu and Yi Chong must be killed. If the weeds were cut without removing the roots, they would grow again when the spring breeze blew. "Brother Yulong, I'm a Starry Sky Array Master." "Array Master?" Hearing that Longao was a Starry Sky Array Master, Yulong was shocked. He certainly understood what a Starry Sky Array Master meant. A Starry Sky Array Master could kill enemies at a higher level. However, Yulong wasn't too surprised because there were differences in strength between Starry Sky Array Masters. If Longao's array skills were low, then it would be almost useless against the two. However, if Longao was a high-level array master, then the situation would be different. "Brother Long, may I know what grade of Starry Sky Array Master you are?" Longao smiled and said, "I'm only one step away from the Immortal Realm." Yulong's face lit up when he heard Longao's words. Whether Longao's cultivation broke through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm or his array skills broke through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, the chances of killing the two of them would be greatly increased. "Brother Long, how confident are you in dealing with the two of them with your array skills?" "I'm not confident at all. However, I have an array. If I can successfully arrange it, with our strength, we can definitely kill the two of them. Not only that, my array skills will definitely break through in less than a month." Longao knew very well that even if his array skills could break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, it would still be impossible for him to kill the two-peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm expert. However, Longao was full of confidence. This was because this was the strength of the array. As long as he could arrange a super big array with his whole body and mind, it would be possible to kill the two of them with the help of his and Yulong's combined strength. It would not be impossible. "Alright, we'll arrange the array within a month. We'll kill the two of them first and then focus on finding the source of power. We don't have to wait for a month. Brother Yulong, you can start arranging some basic things now. I'll try my best to break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm. After a month, I'll continue to arrange the array. According to my calculations, I'll be able to arrange the array in less than 3 months to deal with the two of them." "Okay, no problem." Yulong certainly didn't have any problems. As long as they could kill the two of them, everything would be worth it. Chapter 2452. In the following days, Longao was in seclusion, preparing to break through to the starry sky immortal realm. As for Yulong, he was preparing some basic things. As long as he knew a little about formations, he could do it. The two split up, preparing to set up formations in a month. In the distance, Gang Mu and Yi Chong were looking for traces of Longao and Yulong. However, no matter how they looked, they still couldn't find any traces of them. This made them extremely angry. They didn't know where they had gone. They were furious. Yi Chong said coldly, "We can't keep looking like this. They've already found us, so they must be on guard." How could Gang Mu not know what Yi Chong meant? Gang Mu said helplessly, "This mysterious plane is too big. If they insist on hiding, it'll be very difficult for us to find them." Then what should we do now? Take one step at a time. Take one step at a time. It was easy to say, but it was incomparably difficult to do. Gang Mu thought for a moment and said, "Yi Chong, why don't we join forces with all the peak starry sky immortals on this plane to deal with them?" Yi Chong was a bit surprised. "You have to think carefully. If you ask them for help, they'll definitely demand an exorbitant price. Sigh, so what if they do? We're already in a very bad situation." "Alright. Mysterious plane." Besides Yulong, Gang Mu, and Yi Chong, there were 6 other peak starry sky immortals. Altogether, there were 9 peak starry sky immortals. This force was very strong. Even in the vast universe, it was a force that couldn't be ignored. If there wasn't a half-step starry sky ruler, this force could shake any starry sky empire, including the 9 great starry sky empires. Gang Mu and Yi Chong spent a lot of effort and paid a great price to find 6 peak starry sky immortals. They were Jin Chen, Hua Boli, Zhou Feng, Miao Ling Wang Ying, and Zhao Wu. 8 peak starry sky immortals. Once they joined forces, it was easy to imagine how powerful they would be. Time flew. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. Longao's formation had successfully broken through to the starry sky immortal realm. Now, Longao's strength was incomparable to before. With his own strength and the power of the array, it was enough to kill a starry sky undying, and with ease. As for the peak starry sky undying realm, it was a little difficult. However, Longao had already thought of a countermeasure and was prepared to go all out. "Brother Long, are you ready?" Longao nodded and said, "My array formation realm has smoothly broken through to the starry sky immortal realm. In the next 3 months, I will do my best to arrange the array formation. After 3 months we can take action." Joy immediately appeared on his face. "Brother Long, what can I do to help? Brother Yulong, help me guard this place. Don't let anyone disturb me." "No problem." Of course, Yulong knew that when a formation master arranged a formation, there must be no interference. Otherwise, there would be a lot of trouble. The array formation that Longao prepared to set up this time was called the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array. As Longao's strength continued to grow, the power of this array would also become more and more powerful. Not only that, the main reason why Longao chose the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array was because of this plane. After a month of sensing, he found that the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array seemed to be able to gather the power of this plane. With Longao's current level of array formation, he could easily arrange the 9 Heavens 10 Earths Annihilation Array. However, the current situation was completely different. In order to smoothly kill the 2 people with one strike, Longao certainly had to arrange the array formation with all his strength, hoping to arrange a super array formation. Longao was very clear about the current situation. If he failed to kill the 2 people with one strike and was discovered by them, it would be almost impossible to lure them into the array formation in the future. This was his only chance and he must not miss it. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Seeing that the huge array formation in front of them had been successfully arranged, both Longao and Yulong were pleasantly surprised. The 9 heavens 10 earths annihilation array in front of them could be said to be the only way to kill the two people. Brother Long, how confident are you that you can successfully kill the two people with the array formation? Until now, Yulong was still a little uncertain because the two people were peak starry sky immortals after all. They were definitely not easy to deal with. How could Longao not know about Yulong's worries? Brother Long, if we can lure the two people into the array formation, I have full confidence that I can kill the two of them. Good, that's good. Since Longao had said so, Yulong would certainly not have the slightest doubt. The two did not hesitate and immediately left. 3 days later, the two parties locked onto each other's position and finally found the two people. According to Gang Mu and Yi Chong, if the other 6 peak starry sky immortals all appeared, the two people would be on guard and would definitely turn around and leave. Trash. After cursing, before the two of them could react, Longao and Yulong immediately turned around and left. Their speed soared to the extreme. In a short while, the two of them had already disappeared without a trace. What's going on? Gang Mu and Yi Chong were dumbfounded. However, since it wasn't easy to seize this opportunity, how could they give it up so easily? Without any hesitation, whether it was Gang Mu or Yi Chong, including the 6 peak universe undyings hidden in the depths, they all chased after him. The speed of both sides was very fast. In a short while, Longao and Yulong had already entered the 9 heavens 10 earths execution array. Now, the array was hidden very strangely. Ordinary people couldn't sense it at all. As for whether the peak starry sky immortals could sense it, that was unknown. In a short while, the 8 peak starry sky immortals had all arrived. At this moment, Miao Ling forcefully stopped the 7 of them with a serious expression. Miao Ling what's wrong? What happened? Seeing Miao Ling actions, the 7 of them were very curious. They did not know what Miao Ling was trying to do. However, as a peak starry sky immortal, Miao Ling definitely had her own senses. The 7 of them stopped abruptly. Miao Ling's expression was very serious. She asked curiously, Yulong isn't an array master. Is Longao an array master? Array master? Hearing the words array master, the 7 of them immediately understood what she meant. Gang Mu asked impatiently, Miao Ling, you mean there's an array in front of us? Miao Ling nodded and said, according to my senses, this array is not weak. Chapter 24:53. The power wasn't weak. The 7 of them knew what Miao Ling meant by not weak. One had to know that Miao Ling wasn't just an array master, she was also a space undying array master. Thinking of this, Yi Chong sneered and said coldly, we have 8 peak space undying, and Miao Ling is a powerful array master. Why should we be afraid of Longao? Yi Chong is right. We don't need to be afraid of Longao. Let's go. Miao Ling shrugged helplessly. She was confident in her array skills, especially when there were other peak space undying here. Even if she stepped into the array, she wouldn't be afraid at all. The 8 peak space undying entered one after another. In a short while, all 8 of them disappeared into the array. Just as the 8 stepped into the array, the entire 9 heavens 10 earths killing array started operating. Within the array, as the master of the array, Longao naturally knew that 8 of them had entered the array, and they were all peak space undying. Brother Yulong, what are the other 6 background? Yulong's expression was solemn. Seems like Gang Mu and Yi Chong invited the other 6 peak space undying. Now that the 8 of them are working together, what are our chances of winning? Things were different now. If it was just Gang Mu and Yi Chong, the array's power was enough to kill them both. However, the current situation was completely different. There were now 8 of them instead of 2. With the combined might of the 8 of them, Could the magic array still kill off the 8 of them? Longao naturally knew what Yulong meant. If it was before, he would have been confident, but now it was impossible. As expected, the 8 people who had already stepped into the formation, Gangmu laughed loudly and said, Longao, Yulong, you want to rely on the formation to deal with us? Dream on. No one answered. Miao Ling please help. Among the 8, only Miao Ling was an array master. Nodding, Miao Ling started to sense. In a short while, she said, 9 heavens 10 earths killing array. If I'm not wrong, the other party should be a space undying. He was very shocked. This was especially true for Gangmu and Yi Chong. The two of them had never expected that Longao was not only an array formation master, but also an array formation starry sky immortal. How do we break the formation? It's very simple. As long as the 8 of us strike a single point, we'll be able to easily break the formation. He did as he said. Without a formation master, even if the 8 of them worked together, it was unlikely that they would be able to break the formation. However, with Miao Linger's proficiency in formations, she was able to quickly find a way to break the formation. The 8 of them joined forces and suddenly attacked a single point. Boom! A loud sound rang out. The entire 9 heavens 10 earths killing array collapsed, and Longao and Yulong's figures appeared. Ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Gangmu and Yi Chong laughed crazily when they saw that the formation had been broken. With the power of 8 peak starry sky immortals, killing Longao and Yulong was no longer difficult. Yulong's expression was ugly because they would definitely lose if they were to fight 2 against 8. What should they do? Seeing that Longao was not moving, Yulong did not know what Longao was thinking. He used his spiritual consciousness to communicate, Brother Long, what should we do now? If we were to fight them head-on, we would be in big trouble. It wasn't a matter of trouble. If they were to fight them head-on, they might even be killed by the 8 of them. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? However, Longao was clear that if he were to choose to leave now, the 8 of them would definitely attack him crazily. By then, the 2 of them would have no chance at all. Should they choose to enter the Chaos Palace? If they were able to enter the Primal Chaos Hall, Longao was undoubtedly confident that no one would be able to lock on to their location. But could they do that? It was definitely impossible. Other than a few people, no one else knew that he possessed the Primal Chaos Hall. It was because of this that Longao would not casually use the Primal Chaos Hall. If it were other things, then so be it. But the Chaos Palace was the only thing that could not be leaked. It was not that he did not trust Yulong. After all, this was a matter of great importance. Other than using the Primal Chaos Palace, Longao couldn't think of any other way to leave smoothly. This time, no matter how he calculated, he didn't expect Gangmu and Yi Chong to invite 6 peak universe undyings. Longao and Yulong knew what it meant to have 8 starry sky immortals join hands. Seeing that Yulong and Longao did not speak, the 8 of them naturally knew what the other party meant. Not to mention the 2 of them, anyone else would be afraid of them. Longao, Yulong, we can give the 2 of you a chance. As long as you are willing to submit to the 8 of us, you will not die. The other 7 did not have any objections to Gangmu's words. After all, one of them was a peak starry sky immortal while the other was an array starry sky immortal. Such strength could not be ignored. Longao, who had been silent all this time, sneered and said, Gangmu Yi Chong, why don't we make a bet? Bet? What did Longao mean? The 8 of them were very curious. The calmer the other party was, the more uncertain they were. They did not know what Longao wanted to do. Longao, just say it. I want to see what you want. Things had already reached this point. If they chose to give up easily, then they would lose all face. Longao sneered and said coldly, Gangmu Yi Chong, I can guarantee that you can't keep the 2 of us here. If you can't, then all 8 of you will submit to us. What do you think? Anger, endless anger. Under normal circumstances, the 8 of them would not be afraid of the 2 of them. However, Longao did this. Did he have something to rely on? The more they thought about it, the more they felt that something was wrong. It was better to be safe than sorry. In the eyes of the 8 of them, Longao was clearly setting a trap for them. If the 8 of them really fell into the trap, then they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it after death. Gang Mu and Yi Chong might be able to make decisions for themselves, but they could not make decisions for the other 6. Even if they were willing, the other 6 would not agree. The 2 of them did not want to become enemies with the 6 of them. The 2 of them looked at the 6 of them. Their meaning was clear. The 6 of them were not fools. They naturally understood what Gang Mu and Yi Chong meant. At this time, Miao Ling sneered and said, "Why are you talking nonsense with them? Just kill them. As for whether they submit or not, it's all bullshit." Chapter 2454. The other 7 were clear about Miao Ling's intentions. Things were already like this. Longao and Yulong were obviously at a disadvantage. Since that was the case, why did the 8 of them have to be like this? Why did they have to make a bet? The 8's faces turned gloomy and murderous. Kill! Once the word kill was spoken, the 8 of them rushed towards Longao and Yulong crazily. Their speed soared to the extreme, as fast as they could. "Brother Yulong, let's go." Before Yulong could react, the 2 of them had already disappeared without a trace. Seeing the 2 people in front of them suddenly disappear without a trace, the 8 people were completely dumbfounded. That was because no one could figure out what was going on. Why would the 2 people suddenly disappear without a trace? How did Longao and Yulong do it? The 8 Pinnacle Universe Undyings looked at each other, seeing the disbelief in each other's eyes. It was unbelievable. It was simply inconceivable. If it was a half-step Starry Sky Ruler or Starry Sky Ruler, it wouldn't be a big deal. After all, with their strength, how could they sense a half-step Starry Sky Ruler or Starry Sky Ruler? But now? Whether it was Longao or Yulong, they weren't the so-called Starry Sky Ruler or half-step Starry Sky Ruler. How could they disappear right under their noses? The 8 didn't hesitate and immediately started to lock on, hoping to locate the 2 as soon as possible. But the result? After locking on for a while, the 8 still couldn't locate the 2. How did Longao and Yulong do it? Are you able to lock onto their positions? Everyone shook their heads. As for Miao Ling she was even more depressed. She said helplessly, "I've just set up a formation. Even if it's a cultivator of the same level, they won't be able to escape from my formation." As for the 2, Miao Ling didn't continue, but the meaning in her words was clear. Everyone's face turned gloomier. The 8 of them couldn't locate the 2 even after locking on for a while. "Tell me, how did the 2 of them do it?" Gang Mu said coldly, "It shouldn't be Yulong, but Longao. According to my guess, the reason why the 2 of them could disappear instantly is because they have a Starry Sky God weapon." Starry Sky Divine Tool? What kind of Starry Sky Spirit artifact was so powerful that it could avoid the lock-on of the 8 of them? It would be a lie to say that he wasn't tempted. If he could obtain such a Starry Sky Divine artifact, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. What should we do now? Although we can't pinpoint the location of Longao and Yulong, I'm sure they're still here. Everyone nodded in agreement. It was precisely because of this that the 8 of them did not leave. Instead, they guarded the 8 positions and continued to lock onto the 2's position. Within the Primal Chaos Palace. When Longao and Yulong successfully entered the Primal Chaos Palace, Longao finally heaved a sigh of relief. He was not worried at all because he was completely confident that the 8 of them would not be able to enter the Primal Chaos Palace. Nothing happened? Yulong was very surprised because he never thought that the Starry Sky Divine artifact Longao brought him in could avoid the lock-on of the 8 of them. If he had not seen it with his own eyes, he would have found it hard to believe. Yulong did not ask too much. He knew very well that if Longao was willing to tell him, he would not need to ask too much. He believed that Yulong would definitely tell him. If Longao was unwilling to tell him, even if he asked, it would be pointless. Longao would definitely not tell him. How could Longao not know what Yulong meant? Brother Yulong, this is a starry sky divine artifact that I accidentally obtained back then. Not to mention a peak starry sky immortal, even a half-step starry sky ruler would not be able to lock onto our position. If it were someone else, Yulong would definitely not choose to believe it. However, he did not doubt Longao's words at all. If that was the case, Longao's starry sky divine artifact was too heaven-defying. Not only could it avoid the lock-on of a peak starry sky immortal, but it could also avoid the lock-on of a half-step starry sky ruler. Brother Long, we can't go on like this. If nothing unexpected happens, the 8 of them will definitely not give up. They will be waiting for us outside. There was no doubt about it. How could Longao not know about this? This was also the most depressing thing for him because he could clearly sense that there were 8 powerful auras outside, constantly locking onto their position. Although the 2 of them could use the Primal Chaos Palace to temporarily avoid the lock-on of the 8 of them, they could not go on like this. The 2 of them could not hide here forever. What should they do? Thinking back and forth, Longao could not think of a good way to deal with the 8 of them for a while. If it was only Gang Mu and Yi Chong, then things would be easy. At least he could use the formation to kill the 2 of them. However, now it was not just 2, but 8 of them. 8 peak starry sky immortals joining forces. Even if he used the formation, he would definitely not be a match for the 8 of them. Not only that, among the 8 peak starry sky immortals, there was also a powerful formation master whose formation realm was the same as his. In this way, if the 2 of them fought head-on, not to mention killing the 8 of them, they might not even be able to survive. Looking at Longao's expression, Yulong already knew what was going on. His complexion was also very unsightly, but after thinking for a while, he still said, "Brother Long, you don't have to worry about this. Although the 8 of them didn't leave and have been locking our position, I can be sure that they won't stay for too long. Brother Yulong, of course I know this. However, it will not be easy to kill the 8 of them. If you cut the weeds without removing the roots, they will grow again when the spring breeze blows. Cut the weeds and remove the roots to prevent future troubles." Under such circumstances, Yulong did not have a good solution. He wanted to say something, but in the end, he endured it. The 2 of them sat quietly, waiting for the 8 of them to leave. As for how to deal with the 8 of them in the future, that was a matter for the future. They would take one step at a time. Outside the Primal Chaos Palace, Gang Mu and Yi Chong did not leave. The 8 of them were guarding their positions, not daring to be the slightest bit careless. They had been locking onto the 2's position. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed quietly. However, the 8 of them still had not found anything. They could not lock onto Longao and Yulong's position at all. The more it was so, the more the 8 of them were shocked and puzzled. The Starry Sky God tool in Longao's hand was too heaven-defying. The 8 of them were incomparably greedy. They could not wait to get Longao's Starry Sky God tool. If they could really get it, wouldn't it mean that they would be invincible under the half-step Starry Sky ruler realm? Chapter 2455. It was just as Yulong had guessed. The 8 of them couldn't lock onto it forever. 1 or 2 days was fine, but what about 3, 4, or 5 days? In less than a month, the 8 of them were already impatient. What should we do next? The 8 of them were very depressed because they couldn't continue like this. Should they just give up like this? They weren't willing. The 8 of them knew very well that if they chose to give up just like that, they would lose all their faith. Thinking of this, Miao Ling snorted and said, "I won't give up. What do you all think? If one didn't want to give up, then the second wouldn't. Kill!" The 8-peak starry sky immortals all chose to continue. However, the 8 of them decided not to continue searching because Longao and Yulong knew that they were no match for them. They definitely wouldn't choose to appear. Instead of continuing to wait, they might as well leave and see how they could deal with the 2 of them in the future. In a short while, the 2 of them disappeared without a trace. As soon as the 8 of them left, Longao and Yulong appeared. Both Longao and Yulong's expressions were ugly because they knew very well what it meant to have 8-peak starry sky immortals join hands. "Brother Long, what should we do now? I exposed the starry sky god artifact this time. It seems like the 8 of them won't give up so easily. With our strength, even with the help of the array, we're no match for the 8 of them. How could Yulong not know this?" He sighed deeply, but didn't know what to say. "Let's look for the source of power first. When my cultivation reaches the starry sky immortal realm, our chances of winning will greatly increase." Yulong didn't object and nodded in agreement. Since things had come to this, it seemed like this was the only way. The mysterious plane was an amalgamation of countless planes layered on top of each other. Rather than calling it a single plane, it would be more accurate to call it countless planes. Even Longao and Yulong had yet to determine how many planes had merged into this plane. Just thinking about it gave them a headache. Longao didn't immediately start looking for the source of power. Instead, he continued to search for a cave filled with mysterious power. "Brother Long, what should we do now?" Yulong didn't have much hope in his heart. After so many years, he hadn't been able to pinpoint the location of the source of power. Even Longao couldn't do anything about it before, so how could he pinpoint it now? That was just a pipe dream. However, since Longao was determined to find the source of his power, Yulong didn't say anything. He just did his best to help and didn't want to ask about anything else. Regarding what Yulong was thinking in his heart, Longao knew it clearly. Sometimes, even if they were friends, facts spoke louder than words. "Brother Yulong, please stand guard outside the cave. Don't let anyone disturb me." "That's not a problem. You have to be careful." Although Yulong didn't know what Longao wanted to do, he didn't ask. He immediately left the cave and sat quietly outside, guarding the cave. Inside the cave, Longao's face was very solemn. He didn't have the slightest confidence in pinpointing the source of power. However, no matter what happened, he had to find the source of power. After breaking through to the Starry Sky Legend Realm, he could deal with Starry Sky Immortal Realm Expert. However, once he faced a peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm Expert, he would be completely dumbfounded and helpless. He couldn't even use formations. The only way was to break through to the Starry Sky Legend Realm as soon as possible. Once his cultivation reached the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, he would be able to deal with peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm Expert. Longao even had full confidence that if his cultivation could break through to the Starry Sky Immortal Realm, it wouldn't be difficult for him to kill peak Starry Sky Immortal Realm experts, let alone contend against them. Because of this, Longao couldn't wait to pinpoint the location of the source of power. However, this mysterious plane was too strange. It was a fusion of countless planes. If he wanted to pinpoint the location of the source of power, he first had to pinpoint which plane the source of power was on. This was the most important thing. How could he pinpoint the plane? This was the biggest difficulty. Longao had thought of countless methods, but he couldn't pinpoint the plane layer by layer. Even if he was a Starry Sky Legend Realm expert, he believed that he would be exhausted to death. It was still the same sentence. If he was lucky, he could pinpoint the source of power in the shortest time possible. If he was unlucky, no one knew when he would be able to pinpoint the source of power. The more he thought about it, the more troublesome and depressing it became. However, no matter how troublesome and depressing it was, Longao knew that he still had to do it. Without any other choice, Longao could only continue to operate the 9-revolution chaos formula in his body. At this time, only the 9-revolution chaos formula could help him. However, the 9-revolution chaos formula and the mysterious power were very incompatible. As long as he operated the 9-revolution chaos formula, he would feel waves of unbearable pain in his head. He might even faint. Under normal circumstances, Longao's cultivation had smoothly broken through to the starry sky legend realm. It was almost impossible for him to faint. However, this impossible thing happened at this time. As soon as Longao operated the 9-revolution chaos formula in his body, he felt waves of pain in his head. It was a splitting headache, as if someone was cutting his head with a knife. Even Longao couldn't bear it. Clenching his teeth, Longao persisted because he knew very well in his heart that if he chose to give up at this time, then there was no doubt that all his previous efforts would be in vain. Every time he came here, who knew when it would end? Longao gritted his teeth and persevered. But even so, according to Longao's guess, he could only hold on for a few minutes at most. He could hold on for dozens of minutes. It was really unknown whether he could pinpoint the location of the source of power in dozens of minutes. If he couldn't pinpoint it, then it seemed that his luck wasn't good enough. Ah! A painful scream was heard. Yulong, who was guarding outside the cave, looked very worried. However, he didn't step into the cave. Before coming out, Longao had repeatedly told him that no matter what happened in the cave, he couldn't step in without Longao's call. Otherwise, he was afraid that everything would be in vain. Of course, Yulong knew what was going on inside. As long as Longao operated the mysterious technique, he would feel a splitting headache. It was very strange. Until now, he didn't know what was going on. Longao didn't say anything, and Yulong didn't ask much. Chapter 2456. Pacing back and forth, Yulong became more and more anxious. Brother Long will be fine, right? He wanted to step into the cave several times, but in the end, he stopped abruptly. Yulong sighed deeply with a helpless look on his face. He still listened to Longao's words. Without the other party's call, he could not step in without permission. It would not be good if the gains did not make up for the losses. Inside the cave, Longao covered his head with both hands. His face was filled with pain. Even so, Longao gritted his teeth and persevered, hoping that he could lock onto the location of the source of power before he fainted. Longao, of course, did not want to fail at the last moment. There were too many planes. It was impossible for Longao to sense the planes one by one. Because if this continued, who knew how long it would take? Countless planes fused together. Longao released the power of his primordial spirit and fused it with the 9-revolution chaos mantra. Lock on, lock on, lock on. Longao was secretly anxious, because as time slowly passed, no one knew if he could lock onto the location of the source of power within 10 minutes. Under normal circumstances, Longao would definitely fail this time, because 10 minutes had passed, and until now, he still could not lock onto the location of the source of power. He sighed deeply in his heart. His face was filled with helplessness. Even if he did not want to give up, Longao had no choice but to give up, no matter how unwilling he was in his heart. But at this moment, just as Longao was about to give up, the primal chaos palace in his Dantian suddenly erupted with an unparalleled power. This power was very strange and very powerful. Longao could even feel that this mysterious power that erupted from the primal chaos palace was far more powerful than the mysterious plane's power. Moreover, this mysterious power that erupted from the primal chaos palace was the same mysterious power that had helped him break through several realms. Longao was pleasantly surprised. This time, he kept locking onto the source of power in hopes of breaking through the Starry Sky Legend realm and reaching the Starry Sky Immortal realm. But now, the mysterious power in the primal chaos palace suddenly appeared. If he could devour this mysterious power, Longao was almost certain that his cultivation could rely on this mysterious power to break through the starry sky immortal realm. Not only that, Longao even had a little hope that if he could devour more mysterious energy, then let alone breaking through to the starry sky immortal realm, even breaking through to the limit of the starry sky immortal realm wouldn't be impossible. This mysterious power came at the perfect time. Just as Longao was about to devour this mysterious energy, he was shocked to find that he couldn't devour it at all. What exactly happened? A mysterious power had appeared in the primal Chaos Palace several times, and he had been able to smoothly devour it. Moreover, he had been able to borrow this mysterious power to break through each time. He had never failed before. Otherwise, his cultivation would not have increased so quickly. Then why didn't it work this time? Longao didn't know where the problem was. Previously, Longao had been too excited about the mysterious power released by the Primal Chaos Palace, so he hadn't noticed it. Now that he had calmed down, he realized that his splitting headache had disappeared. Longao still didn't know what was going on. There were twists and turns. Just as Longao was at a loss of what to do, the mysterious power released by the Primal Chaos Palace started devouring the mysterious power within the cave. Devouring frenziedly. Ha! Ha 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 ha! Ha 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 ha! Hearing the laughter, Yulong's figure entered immediately. Yulong was extremely worried right now. He couldn't wait any longer. After all, he did not know what Longao had encountered. Brother Long, are you all right? Brother Yulong, stay here and guard. Don't go anywhere. Brother Long, Longao did not have the time to explain to Yulong. After all, the longer he delayed, the more he would delay things. He definitely wouldn't do that. Before Yulong could react, Longao's figure had already disappeared from the cave. Before long, he had disappeared without a trace. He was dumbfounded. Yulong wasn't an idiot. Instantly, he understood what was going on. His face was filled with joy. He was ecstatic to the max. If it were anyone else, Yulong would definitely not have believed them. If anyone else had locked onto the location of the source of the mysterious power, they would definitely have taken it for themselves. Why would they share it? Except for Longao. Yulong did not doubt it at all. He was almost certain that even if Longao could lock onto the location of the source of the mysterious power, he would not forget about him. If he didn't even have that bit of confidence, they wouldn't be friends. Now that the situation was laid out before him, the only thing he could do was to wait here. Yulong wanted to give chase as well. However, he did not know where Longao had gone to. If he were to give chase just like that, who knew if he would miss out on this opportunity? After leaving the cave, Longao's speed was pushed to the max. He was extremely fast as he used his space teleportation continuously. After all, he did not know how long it would take for the mysterious power released by the Primal Chaos Palace to devour the mysterious power within the cave. 1 minute? 10 minutes? Or an hour? Longao could not be sure. However, he had to be optimistic about everything. Because of this, Longao was prepared to lock onto the source of the mysterious power as soon as possible. He did not want to delay locking onto the source of the mysterious power. This was his only chance. Longao did not know when the mysterious power within the Primal Chaos Palace would appear. If it did not appear for thousands of years, it would be impossible for him to rely on his own strength to lock onto the source of the mysterious power. Longao naturally did not want to give up this opportunity so easily. He wanted to lock onto the source of the mysterious power as soon as possible. If this mysterious plane was just a plane, it would not be difficult to lock onto the source of the mysterious power, no matter how big the plane was. However, if that was the case, there was no need for him to wait. He believed that others would have already locked onto the source of the mysterious power after so many years. It was precisely because the mysterious plane was a fusion of countless layers of planes. Whether it was the previous peak Starry Sky Immortals or the current Longao, it was very difficult for them to lock onto the source of the mysterious power. Longao was extremely depressed. Even if he relied on the mysterious power within the primal Chaos Palace, it would not be easy to sense the mysterious power layer by layer. Even so, he could not choose to give up. The mysterious power released by the primal Chaos Palace did not weaken at all. Instead, it increased. This way, Longao could hold on for a little longer. However, even so, Longao did not dare to be negligent. He locked onto the source of the mysterious power layer by layer as quickly as possible. The more he locked onto it, the more helpless he felt. The more he locked onto it, the more anxious he became. Chapter 2457. Layer by Layer. If this continued, when would it end? Longao was depressed to the extreme. Countless planes made it much harder to lock onto the source. If the Chaos Palace could release the mysterious power endlessly, Longao was confident that he could lock onto the source. But in the end? He didn't know when the mysterious power in the Chaos Palace would disappear. It would be fine if he could devour the mysterious power. Based on the previous few times, Longao was confident that as long as he devoured the mysterious power, his cultivation would increase greatly. The more he locked onto the source, the more Longao realized that there were too many planes. What should he do? The power of the primordial spirit released by Longao fused with the mysterious power released by the Chaos Palace and started to cover the entire plane. If it was just Longao's strength, even if he could cover the entire plane, he wouldn't be able to cover the fusion of the planes. But the situation was completely different now. Longao's coverage had increased by dozens of times. What did this mean? Longao knew that although he wasn't confident that he could lock onto the source, the probability was much higher. He still couldn't lock onto the source. What should he do? That's Longao? Chase. The 8 peak Starry Sky Immortals who were locking onto Longao and Yulong suddenly saw a figure flash by in front of them. Their expressions changed because they never thought that they would meet Longao at this time. Without the slightest bit of hesitation, the 8 of them did not have the slightest bit of hesitation. They immediately chased after him frantically. Their speed soared to the extreme because the 8 of them had never thought that Longao's speed would be so fast. If they didn't see it with their own eyes, they wouldn't believe it. How did Longao do it? But Longao was only a Starry Sky legend. It was impossible for his speed to reach such a level. It was simply impossible. But the truth was right in front of them. Longao's speed was indeed that fast. If they were negligent, Longao would definitely escape. Longao obviously knew that he had been locked onto by the 8 of them, but he didn't care at all and chose to ignore them. At this time, the most important thing was to lock onto the source of the power. As for the grudges between him and the 8 peak Starry Sky Immortals, they could talk about it later. With Longao's speed, even if he used teleportation, he wouldn't be able to reach this level. But now, the situation was different. Longao's primordial spirit fused with the mysterious power released by the Chaos Palace. What was this concept? Longao's speed? Longao knew about this matter, and the 8 of them were also very clear about it. The more he chased, the angrier he became. The 8 of them looked at each other as they chased after each other. They could see the deep shock in each other's eyes. They definitely couldn't continue like this. It wasn't easy to lock onto Longao's position. If they gave up so easily, who knew if they would be able to lock onto Longao's position in the future? What should we do now? At this time, Miao Ling thought for a while and said, I will immediately set up the God-locking formation, but I will need the help of the 7 of you. Okay. The God-locking formation set up by Miao Ling was set up by the 7 peak Starry Sky Immortals. A God-locking formation set up by 8 peak Starry Sky Immortals. It was obvious how powerful it was. This was just miaoling, or setting it up temporarily. If the 8 of them were given enough time, the god-locking formation they set up would be even stronger. Longao, who was trying his best to lock onto the source of the power, was suddenly locked onto by a force. His expression changed. There was almost no need to ask. As a powerful array master, Longao naturally knew that he had been locked on by the array. This array had gathered the strength of 8 people. If he was not careful, he would probably fall into an irrecoverable situation. Longao cursed in his heart. What he was afraid of really happened. No matter when he met the 8 of them, he would be fine. But now, he definitely couldn't be distracted. It wasn't easy for the Primal Chaos Palace to release the mysterious force. If he missed this chance, who knew when the next time would be? If he couldn't be distracted, he would be trapped by the god-locking formation set up by the 8 of them. At that time, his time would be wasted. What should he do in such a situation? Longao was helpless to the extreme because he had 2 choices. He could choose to give up on locking onto the source of the power, or he could choose to deal with the 8 of them. How should he choose? For a moment, Longao also did not know what to do. He was very helpless. After thinking about it, Longao decided to deal with the 8 of them. It wasn't worth it to be surrounded by the 8 of them just to lock onto the source of the power. Longao wasn't a fool. Of course, he wouldn't sacrifice himself for the source of the power. The Primal Chaos Axe appeared in Longao's hand. With his previous strength, even if he used the Primal Chaos Axe, he couldn't cause any harm to the 8 of them. But now, the situation was completely different. It was as if the mysterious force released by the Primal Chaos Palace had merged with the Primal Chaos Axe. What kind of concept was this? Longao also did not have the slightest bit of hesitation. He attacked crazily with his backhand. One axe after another, it was continuous, like the Yellow River overflowing unceasingly. The 6 of them had heard from Gongmu and Yichong that Longao had a heaven-defying spirit power. Not only could he shatter the starry sky, but he could also compress the cracks in the starry sky. Such a spirit power was too heaven-defying. If they could obtain it, even if they couldn't shake a half-step starry sky ruler, they could at least become an invincible existence. However, with Longao's strength, even if he had such a heaven-defying spirit power, he couldn't defeat the 8 of them. Regarding this matter, whether it was the 6 of them, Gongmu or Yichong, they all had full confidence. However, the 6 of them were determined to obtain Longao's spirit power. If they could obtain this spirit power, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Hearing it was one thing, but actually doing it was another. Seeing the cracks in the space around them with their own eyes, except for Gongmu and Yichong, the remaining 6 people were completely shocked. They never thought that someone could have such a heaven-defying spirit power. Shattering the starry sky and compressing the cracks in the starry sky was something they had never seen before. They didn't feel the slightest anger. Instead, they became more and more surprised. The more powerful the spirit power of the other party, the more excited they were. If they could obtain it, they would be very excited. At this moment, the Primal Chaos Axe in Longao's hand suddenly shot out a black light. Chapter 2458. Longao didn't know how powerful Primal Chaos Axe was. The power of primordial spirit combined with the mysterious power released by the Primal Chaos Palace increased its power by 3 times. After the Primal Chaos Axe struck continuously, the surrounding space cracks started to appear crazily. One of the space cracks was 3 times bigger than the previous ones. 3 times the size didn't sound like a big deal. However, the space cracks couldn't be underestimated. The 8-peak starry sky undying looked at the space cracks that suddenly appeared around them and were completely shocked. What was going on? The 8 of them couldn't figure it out because they knew clearly what such a terrifying space crack meant. If they were swallowed by such a terrifying space crack, they would definitely die. Gangmu Yichong, Is this what you're talking about? Yes. Sensing the spatial cracks that appeared around them, no matter if it was Gang Mu or Yi Chong, they were completely dumbfounded. Because the two of them didn't know what had happened. They didn't know why Longao's divine ability suddenly became so powerful. Could it be that Longao was hiding his strength before? Something that was a little too ridiculous. Now that they thought about it, it was almost impossible. If that was the case, how did Longao do it? They couldn't figure it out. They really couldn't figure it out. Silence was the best explanation for the current situation. The 8-peak starry sky undying were frantically resisting the space cracks because even they were afraid of being swallowed by the space crack. Don't follow me anymore. Otherwise, I'll kill you without mercy. Kill you without mercy. If Longao dared to say such words before, the 8 of them would definitely choose to ignore him. However, now that Longao displayed such a heaven-defying sacred art, everyone was completely shocked. No one spoke. The 8 of them immediately scattered in all directions. Under such circumstances, no one was willing to fight Longao head-on. In the end, the 8 of them were too afraid of the space crack. It would be a lie to say that they weren't afraid of being swallowed by such a heaven-defying space crack. Looking at the figures gradually disappearing into the distance, the 8 people's figures were very gloomy, as ugly as they could be. What do you think? Gang Mu thought and said, according to my guess, if I'm not wrong, Longao's sacred art should only be able to display such power under special circumstances. How could the other 7 not know what Gang Mu meant? Longao doesn't dare to fight us head-on, and with his anxious state, it seems. At this point, Gang Mu didn't continue, but the meaning of his words was very clear. What should they do? Yi Chong thought and said, maybe this is the best time to kill Longao and get the sacred art. I won't give up. Yi Chong was first. Gang Mu didn't think too much and followed. The remaining 6-peak universe undyings exchanged glances, seeing helplessness in each other's eyes. If they chose to give up, what would they do in the future? They definitely couldn't give up. The 6 of them did not say anything. Instead, they all chose to charge out. One after another, there was an endless stream of them. Their speed was extremely fast. The 8-peak starry sky undying didn't choose to give up and all chased. Longao, who was constantly locking on to the source of power, sensed the 8 chasing him. He was very angry, but under such circumstances, he couldn't split himself to deal with the 8. Unless he had no other choice, he didn't want to give up on locking on to the source of power. Now that he couldn't devour the mysterious power in the primal Chaos Palace, he couldn't lock on to the source of power. Wouldn't all his efforts be for nothing? Longao definitely wouldn't want such a thing. Longao, if you're a man, stop and fight with us. Why do you have to be so sneaky? Seeing that Longao didn't dare to stop and fight, the 8 knew that Longao was just bluffing. This was the best time to get rid of Longao. Under such circumstances, the 8 of them all increased their speed to the extreme. No one was willing to give up. Although the 8 of them were in an alliance, they all had their own plans. All 8 of them hoped to get their hands on the mystic skill in Longao's hands. That was the only way they could suppress him. By then, how could the others be a match for them? Not to mention other things, even the 9 half-step Starry Sky rulers would drool if they knew about the shattering Starry Sky spirit technique, not to mention them. That was the case. The 8 of them increased their speed to the limit, even using all their strength. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. While the 8 of them chased after Longao, they had to be careful of the cracks in the starry skies. If they weren't careful, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret. Even a half-step Starry Sky ruler or even a Starry Sky ruler wouldn't dare to go against a crack in the starry skies, let alone a peak Starry Sky undying. That was the strength of a crack in the starry skies. This wasn't the way to go. Longao naturally knew that if this continued, even if he could lock on to the source of power, the 8 of them would benefit for nothing. Wouldn't that be a loss? Should he give up on locking on to the source of power? That was impossible. There wasn't enough time to think of a good idea to kill two birds with one stone. And at this moment, Longao's face lit up with joy. He had finally sensed the exact location of the source of power. However, it wasn't an easy task to lock on to this plane. But since he had already sensed it, as long as he worked harder, he would definitely be able to lock on to the source of power. It was just that there were still 8 of them following behind him. If they were to follow him in, he believed that they would follow him in as well. If that was the case, wouldn't he just be giving himself up to them? Just as Longao was about to give up, he sensed that even without the help of the mysterious power of the Chaos Palace, he believed that he would be able to lock on to the source of power. But in the end, just as both parties were harboring their own plans, the situation suddenly changed. A tornado swept through the entire plane. From the heavens to the earth, it was extremely shocking. Crack, 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 crack. Not long after, thunderclouds filled the skies. The entire 9 heavens were covered by fiery purple thunderclouds, with terrifying bolts of lightning sweeping down. Not only that, but a series of roars rang out across the entire heaven and earth, shaking the 9 heavens. Be it Longao or the 8 of them, they were dumbfounded at the sight before them. All 9 of them came to a stop at the same time. They had realized that their bodies had been locked on by a mysterious power. And this mysterious power was way too familiar. The 9 of them did not know why they would be locked on by this mysterious power out of nowhere. What in the world was going on? Chapter 2459. The thunderclouds roared as lightning swept across the entire world. The 9 of them were all locked down by a mysterious force. Under such circumstances, none of them dared to move. What was going on? No one knew. Gradually, Longao was starting to understand what was going on. Based on his guess, if there were no accidents, this phenomenon might have something to do with him locking down the source of energy. If that was the case, Longao had a bold guess. The source of energy that he had been locking down might have triggered a phenomenon. He could clearly sense that the power of the world was enough to kill any one of the 9 of them. Luck, no one could control the current situation. They could only rely on luck. If they were lucky, they could be safe. If they were unlucky, they would definitely die. The 8 of them were depressed to the extreme. They had thought that they could kill Longao smoothly and obtain the mystic skill in Longao's hands. But what was the result? Not only did they fail to kill Longao, but they also failed to obtain the mystic skill. They were locked down by a mysterious force and their lives were unknown. Was it worth it? If the 8 of them had to choose again, they would definitely not choose this. The mysterious force released by the primal Chaos Palace did not disappear. Longao could not devour it either. Instead, this mysterious force coiled around Longao's body as though it was protecting him. As for whether he could fight against it, that was still unknown. Even Longao did not have full confidence. The world roared as the thunderclouds rumbled. Bolts of lightning swept across the entire world. Strangely, the 9 of them seemed to be fine. They were not attacked at all. But even so, be it the 8 of them or Longao, none of them dared to relax. After all, no one knew what would happen next. Tell me, what should we do now? What should we do? Hearing Jin Chen's words, the other 7 people's faces turned extremely ugly. None of them had thought that things would come to this point. Life and death were uncertain. The 7 of them all looked at Miao Linger. Among the 8 of them, only Miao Linger was a formation master. The 7 of them placed all their hopes on Miao Linger, hoping that she would have a way to leave this place. Miao Linger's expression was also very grave as she helplessly said, 7, according to my guess, if I'm not wrong, this situation should be related to the source of the mysterious energy. So that was the case. However, the 7 of them didn't know whether they should be happy or sad. This was because the source of their power was something they had bitterly tried to lock onto. After so many years, They had never been able to lock onto it even once. However, the current situation was a little special. The power of heaven and earth caused by the source of power was so strong that it was a little abnormal. Even with their strength, they seemed unable to resist this power of heaven and earth. He really didn't know whether he should be happy or sad. Miao Linger also sighed deeply and said helplessly, "All of you, don't move first. I've already set up a formation, so there shouldn't be any problems. Perhaps we can make use of this opportunity to lock onto the source of the energy." Until now, the 8 of them still didn't know that this matter didn't happen on its own. It was all because of Longao. If the 8 of them knew about this, who knew what they would think? After all, even if they saw it with their own eyes, they would still find it hard to believe. The heavens and earth roared as thunderclouds covered the sky. Lightning continued to sweep across the entire world. The 9 of them were in a mess because no one knew what was going to happen next. If there was even the slightest mistake, who knew what would happen? It would be a lie if they said that they weren't worried. Everyone looked at the thunderclouds that covered the sky, especially the lightning that was crazily striking down. The 9 of them were locked onto by the mysterious energy, not daring to move at all. How much longer was this going to last? The longer they delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for them. Boom! A loud sound rang out. An incomparably thick bolt of lightning instantly struck down. Under normal circumstances, after the lightning struck down, it would disappear without a trace. But what was the result now? This bolt of lightning stood between the heavens and earth, not dissipating for a long time. No one knew what was going on. The 9 of them stared at the bolt of lightning in front of them, their faces changing again and again. Looking at the bolt of lightning in front of him, Longao didn't have the slightest fear. Instead, he was pleasantly surprised. He was extremely excited because he had already guessed that the bolt of lightning in front of him should be the entrance to the source of power. If that was the case, it seemed that he had succeeded in locking onto the source of power this time. However, Longao's body was now locked onto and he couldn't move at all. If he wanted to step into the bolt of lightning, he had to first get rid of the lock of power. Longao held the chaos axe tightly with both hands. With himself as the center, he immediately began to chop continuously. One chop after another, it was continuous and the power of each chop was stronger than the previous one. One had to admit that the power of the chaos axe was too strong. After dozens of chop, the lock of the mysterious energy around him instantly shattered. Overjoyed, Longao's speed soared to the limit. Without any hesitation, he immediately rushed towards the bolt of lightning. His speed was too fast. Before the 8 of them could even react, Longao's figure had already completely submerged into the bolt of lightning and disappeared without a trace. Looking at Longao's crazy action, the 8 of them were completely dumbfounded. They didn't know what was going on with Longao. Even if he wanted to die, he didn't have to do it. It was a completely suicidal action. But would Longao really commit suicide? It was simply nonsense. Longao's brain wasn't flooded with water. How could he choose to commit suicide for no reason? Could it be because of... The 8 of them already knew that this strange movement was likely caused by the source of power. If that was the case, didn't it mean that Longao was likely to have found the entrance to the source of power? Was it really so? The 8 of them were very clear in their hearts. Whether this was true or not was still unknown. If it was true, then their luck was too good. Not only could they kill Longao and seize the supernatural power, they could even lock onto the source of power. If they were unlucky, not only would they not be able to obtain the supernatural power, they wouldn't be able to lock onto the location of the source of power. They might even lose their lives. At that time, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret. Should they follow Longao into the bolt of lightning? Should they go in or not? For a moment, the 8 of them didn't know how to choose. They looked at each other and saw a deep sense of helplessness in each other's eyes. It was very helpless. However, things had already come to this point. The 8 of them knew that if they chose to give up, they would probably regret it in the future. Chapter 2460. In the end, the 8 chose to follow Longao into the lightning pillar. This time, they were going all out. Even if they had to go all out, they had to do it. Otherwise, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it in the future. One had to admit that the 8 were very brave. If it were anyone else, they might not have dared to follow Longao into the lightning pillar. The 8 worked together to break the lock of the mysterious power. A short while later, the 8 figures entered one after another and disappeared into the lightning pillar. Countless planes merged layer by layer. When the 9 stepped into the lightning pillar, they were immediately enveloped by lightning. As for where they were teleported to, none of the 9 knew. Sensing the planes outside couldn't sense it at all. Even Longao could only sense a general idea. But now, after entering the lightning pillar, the 9 people's senses became clearer and clearer. Sure enough, it was the plane of the source of power. After sensing this fact, the 9 people's faces were instantly overjoyed. It was really a case of wearing out iron shoes in a fruitless search, only to find it by chance without any effort. As for Longao, Longao could clearly sense 8 auras entering one after another behind him. It was true that whatever he was afraid of, it would come true. This time, he had really made a wedding dress for the 8 people. It was a very helpless matter. However, things had already come to this point. Longao knew that he could only do his best to seize the source of power. No matter what happened, the source of power couldn't be taken away by the 8 people. The 9 people couldn't move at all because the mysterious power had locked them down since entering the lightning pillar. Life and death were determined by fate. As for whether they lived or died, it was not up to them. About 10 minutes later, the 9 people were teleported to another plane one after another. It was very different from the previous plane. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, the 9 people wouldn't have believed that such a thing could happen. Layers of planes were superimposed. They couldn't step into other planes, but they were actually teleported here. It was unbelievable. How did it happen? Until now, the 9 people still didn't know how this plane was formed. Could it be man-made? It seemed a bit ridiculous because not to mention a peak starry sky dominator, even a half-step starry sky dominator, or even a starry sky dominator, couldn't do it. In that case, it wasn't man-made. Longao. Before the 8 of them could speak, Longao had already used spatial teleportation to leave. In a short while, he had already disappeared without a trace. Under such circumstances, the 8 of them would definitely not deal with Longao first, because in their opinion, it was better to find the source of power first. In fact, the 8 of them felt a little lucky. If they could lock onto the location of the source of power and use it to reach the half-step starry sky ruler realm, then everything would be fine. It was precisely because of this. The 8 of them immediately released their auras and began to lock onto the energy sources around them. The entire plane wasn't very big. According to the auras of the 8 of them, it would only take a few seconds for them to cover the entire plane. Southeast. The 8 of them looked at each other, each with their own ulterior motives. Previously, they might still be in an alliance, but under the absolute benefits, not to mention fighting, even killing each other was something that could happen. In any case, this source of power could help them break through to the half-step starry sky ruler realm. Although it was just a guess whether they could succeed or not, they had to obtain the source of power first. The 8 of them all soared to the limit and headed towards the locked location. The 8 of them were competing to see who could arrive first. After all, whoever arrived first had a higher chance of obtaining the source of power. While the 8 of them locked onto the location of the source of power, Longao also locked onto the location of the source of power. However, Longao rushed over secretly. Longao's speed had already slowed down because the mysterious power released by the primal Chaos Palace had disappeared without a trace after stepping into this plane. At this rate, Longao knew very well that he definitely couldn't beat the 8 of them. At that time, the source of power would definitely be taken away by the 8 of them. He absolutely couldn't let such a thing happen. What should he do? This situation was very unfavorable for Longao, because in terms of speed alone, he definitely wasn't a match for the 8 of them. Although spatial teleportation was very powerful, it wasn't the pinnacle of speed. The pinnacle of speed was time teleportation. Longao made a preliminary estimate. If he could master time teleportation, then its power would at least double or even more than spatial teleportation. What kind of concept was that? However, wanting to master temporal teleportation was also a fool's dream. In the entire vast starry sky, it seemed that only the ruler of the starry sky, the so-called Longming, could master time teleportation. Besides him, no one else could master such a heaven-defying ability. Among the 12 rulers of the starry sky, Longming's speed was the fastest. Longao continuously used spatial teleportation. Even so, he was still slower than the 8 of them. In less than a few minutes, the two sides arrived at their destination one after another. As for the 8 of them, they used all their strength to increase their speed to the limit. In this way, the 8 of them arrived almost at the same time. The 8 of them each had their own ulterior motives and were very careful because they were about to find the source of power. At that time, it was possible for them to fight. The 8 of them intentionally or unintentionally left each other because once they fought, who knew if they would be killed? It was a huge valley surrounded by black fog. It was impossible to see the valley's situation clearly. Not only that, the 8 of them immediately released the power of their own primordial spirits as soon as they arrived. However, as soon as their primordial spirits got close to the valley, they were immediately attacked by a mysterious force. It was strange to say that the mysterious force in the valley could affect other realms. However, in this realm, other than the valley, there was no mysterious force flowing at all. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes, they would have found it hard to believe. Because of this, although the 8 of them had locked onto the location of the source of power, they didn't dare to casually step in because no one knew what was in the valley. If they stepped in and didn't know whether they were alive or dead, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Under such circumstances, the 8 of them didn't speak. They just quietly looked at the valley in front of them. After an unknown period of time. Miao Ling, it's up to you now. Set up the array first. This way, it will be safer for us to enter the valley. Under such circumstances, the usefulness of an array master was completely revealed. Because no one had the slightest confidence to enter casually. However, if they had the help of an array master, everything would be different. Chapter 2461. If this was before, Miao Linger wouldn't have hesitated at all. But now? Miao Linger wasn't a fool. If she helped the 7 of them, she would be setting up obstacles for herself. Now that things had come to this, she would be a fool if she didn't want to take the source of power for herself. Seeing Miao Linger's silence, the 7 of them understood what was going on. One of them was furious. However, the 7 of them didn't dare to make a move casually. After all, Miao Linger was too important to them at this moment. Not only that, if they could kill her in a single strike, everything would be fine. The most helpless thing was that Miao Linger's strength was right there for all to see. It was impossible for them to kill her in a single strike. Everyone, my formation is completely useless in the current situation. Was it really useless? As for whether it was useful or not, how would they know if they didn't try? But since Miao Linger had already said so, they didn't continue asking. Otherwise, they knew what the outcome would be. Then what should we do now? The 8 of them were extremely wary of the valley and didn't dare to enter casually. Yi Chong said with a solemn expression, "I believe that everyone is certain that the source of power is in the valley. If we still have ulterior motives and want to monopolize the source of power, I can guarantee that not only will none of us obtain the source of power, we might even die here." No one spoke. What Yi Chong said was what everyone was thinking. In such a situation, the worst thing was to kill each other, but one couldn't let down their guard. Even if one didn't want to make a move, it didn't mean that others wouldn't. If they were ambushed, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. The 8 of us swear that before we leave this realm, we won't kill each other. If we get the source of power, we'll split it equally. How about it? Alright. No problem. No one objected to Gang Mu's suggestion. Not long after, the 8 of them swore a blood oath. But even so, the 8 of them didn't enter the valley immediately. Instead, they stood outside and observed the situation quietly. Not far away, Longao had concealed his aura. If it was any other time, the 8 of them might have discovered Longao's tracks. But right now, all of their attention was on the valley. How could they discover Longao's tracks? This was a joke. Longao's face was also very solemn. The entire valley was shrouded in black fog. The power of the essence spirit couldn't enter at all. The moment it touched the valley, it would immediately suffer a backlash from the mysterious power. If it was any other power, it would be fine. Except for this mysterious force. Longao knew very well how powerful this mysterious force was. Even if it could kill him, it would only take a few minutes. The 8 of them didn't dare to move, and neither did Longao. What should he do now? No matter how he thought about it, Longao couldn't think of a good way to deal with the valley. Longao didn't sit and wait for his death, because the longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. Who knew if the 8 of them would find a way to enter the valley? If the 8 of them seized the source of power, then everything he had done would be for naught. He was determined not to give up. She just stared at him. Unknowingly, 3 days passed quietly. Just as Longao and the other 8 people were still trying to figure out how to enter the valley, the situation suddenly changed. Inside the valley, a black fog suddenly burst out and frantically swept over. The black fog moved very quickly, but the strength and speed of the 9 people were still there. Seeing the black fog rushing over, the 9 of them immediately turned around and left. Longao didn't run, but turned around and instantly disappeared, entering the Primal Chaos Palace. Inside the Primal Chaos Palace, Longao's face became more and more solemn because the black fog just now was very powerful. If they were covered by it, it would be hard to say whether they would live or die. Fortunately, he had the Primal Chaos Palace, but it was still not a solution. He had gone through a lot of hardships and finally found this place. If he chose to give up so easily, he would be a little unwilling. So what if he was unwilling? The mysterious power in the valley was too powerful. Not to mention stepping into the valley, it was impossible to even touch the edge of the valley. Longao could even say that not to mention himself and the 8 people, even if the 9 half-step Starry Sky or the 12 Starry Sky rulers came, they wouldn't dare to casually step into the valley. Could the mysterious power in the valley be the legendary primal chaos force that the divine mathematician wanted? Until now, Longao still didn't know what kind of power the primal chaos force was. Whether it was the mysterious power in the valley or the mysterious power in the Primal Chaos Palace, he couldn't figure it out. As for the Primal Chaos Force in the Primal Chaos Stone Tablet, not to mention himself, even the Starry Sky rulers didn't know about it. However, Longao knew very well that the mysterious power in the valley, even if it wasn't the Primal Chaos Force, it was likely that this mysterious power was very powerful. At the very least, it was not something he could compete with. Longao had already tried the Primal Chaos Palace, the Primal Chaos Axe, and even the Primal Chaos Seal, but they couldn't help him step into the valley. According to this situation, It was almost impossible for him to step into the valley. In other words, he had come in vain this time. After a few hours, the black fog began to slowly recede. After Longao came out, he immediately sensed 8 powerful auras. There was no doubt that the 8-peak starry sky cultivators hadn't fallen at all. He was very unhappy. If he could take this opportunity to get rid of the 8 of them, it would be a great thing. Longao knew that he still underestimated the strength of peak starry sky immortal experts. Otherwise, if it was someone else, they wouldn't have been able to escape this disaster and would have died. Not far away, the 8 people stared at the valley in front of them with extremely gloomy faces. If they hadn't been fast enough, they believed that they would have died by now. The more they thought about it, the more scared and helpless they felt. The strength of the valley was there. In the current situation, let alone finding a way to step into the valley, it was unknown whether they could leave alive. Because no one knew when the black fog in the valley would appear. How many days would it appear? Or once every few months? If it happened once every day, they wouldn't be able to withstand such a sweep. As the saying goes, it's better to be safe than sorry. If they were unlucky and were swept by the black fog, they would die without a burial place. They wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. They couldn't go on like this, but the 8 people didn't have the slightest solution. If they had a way, they would have already entered the valley. Why would they waste time here? Chapter 2462. What do you guys think we should do now? Gang Mu's expression was extremely ugly. This time, they had finally locked onto the location of the energy source, but they could only look at it. They couldn't go in and take it. Not only Gang Mu, but the other 7 people were also depressed to the extreme. Miao Ling thought for a moment and said, after sensing it for a while, I found a problem. What problem? Hearing that Miao Ling found a problem, the other 7 couldn't help but ask. The energy source was right in front of them, but they couldn't enter the valley to take it. It was like a burly man who had been hungry for 3 days and 3 nights, but couldn't touch a pile of buns. Miao Ling thought for a moment and said, according to my guess, if I'm not wrong, there's not only the energy source in the valley, but there's also a heaven-defying space god weapon in there. What did that mean? The 7 of them weren't idiots. Of course, they knew what Miao Ling meant. If that was the case, then it was obvious what the energy source's space god weapon meant. Miao Ling please continue. The 7 of them knew that Miao Ling hadn't finished speaking. I'm just guessing. If it's really as I guessed, then the energy source's space god weapon might be, what is it? The 7 of them were completely anxious. Their instincts told them that this matter wasn't simple. Seeing Miao Ling-er's hesitation, the 7 of them were very depressed. Gang Mu said helplessly, Miao Ling-er, if you have something to say, just say it. The 8 of us have already made a blood oath. Gang Mu emphasized the blood oath to tell Miao Ling-er not to worry. They wouldn't kill each other for any space god weapon. Miao Ling-er said helplessly, according to my guess, the starry sky divine artifact that was born from the source of energy in the valley should be a secret realm. Secret realm? Miao Ling-er, the secret realm you're talking about is the secret realm of the 9 half-step space rulers? Yes. Hearing this, the 7 of them were overjoyed and excited. The 7 of them knew very well what a secret realm meant. Secret realms. There were a total of 9 secret realms in the vast universe. They were the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th secret realms. Bai Jing and the others had obtained the 9 great secret realms and used them to become half-step starry sky rulers. If the starry sky divine artifact in the valley was really a so-called secret realm, then there was no doubt that anyone who could obtain it would become a half-step starry sky ruler. A half-step starry sky ruler was a truly invincible existence beneath the starry sky ruler. In the entire vast starry sky, there were only 9 half-step starry sky rulers. Everyone, forgive me for saying something. Zhou Feng was usually a man of few words. He had never uttered a single word of nonsense. He had only sworn a blood oath once, and that was when he had no other choice. "Brother Zhou, please." Among the 8 people, Zhou Feng's strength was the strongest. The other 7 people did not dare to underestimate him at all, so they were especially respectful. Zhou Feng nodded and said, "Everyone, although we've all sworn a blood oath that we won't kill each other for the things in the valley, the truth is right in front of us. There's only one secret territory, and there are 8 of us. It's impossible to split it equally." The 7 of them didn't say anything. Their expressions were very solemn. How could the 7 of them not know what Zhou Feng meant? In the face of absolute temptation, a blood oath was useless, especially for a secret territory. Because everyone knew that as long as they could obtain the secret territory, they would definitely become a half-step starry sky ruler. Among the 8 of them, no one was unwilling to become a half-step starry sky ruler. This was the truth. Seeing that the 7 of them were silent, Zhou Feng sighed and said, "Let's first think of a way to deal with this matter. Otherwise, even if we can enter the valley, I'm afraid it'll be very troublesome." Brother Zhou is right. Everyone, what do you think we should do next? How should we split the secret territory? No one doubted her words. Since Miao Ling dared to make such a statement, then it couldn't be wrong. If that was the case, then they should indeed think of a way to split the secret territory. The 8 of them looked at each other. For a moment, the 8 of them didn't know what to do. Not far away, Longao naturally heard Miao Ling's words clearly. He was incomparably shocked because he had never imagined that the valley's source of power would give birth to a secret territory. If that was the case, then the secret territory was incomparably powerful. Although Longao hadn't seen a secret territory before, he had heard of it from the divine mathematician. The secret territory didn't contain primal chaos energy, and it couldn't be as strong as the primal chaos stone tablet. According to the divine mathematician, the secret territory was a spatial space divine tool. It was only refined by the primal chaos energy and formed the heart of the secret territory. That was the true secret territory. Obtaining the secret territory would allow one to become a half-step starry sky ruler at most, but not a starry sky ruler. The biggest difference between the primal chaos stone tablets and the secret territory was that the primal chaos stone tablets contained primal chaos energy, while the secret territory didn't contain any primal chaos energy. It was only refined by the primal chaos energy, so it was impossible to become a starry sky ruler. But even so, if one could obtain the secret territory and devour the heart of the secret territory and become a half-step starry sky ruler, they could roam the universe unhindered. As long as they didn't meet a starry sky ruler, they could do whatever they wanted. As for where the secret territory was refined by the primal chaos energy, not to mention others, even the 9 half-step starry sky rulers didn't know. Everyone knew that there were only 9 secret territories in the vast universe. The 9 of them had never imagined that there would be a 10th secret territory in the valley. If he could obtain the secret territory and devour the heart of the secret territory, then he could definitely become a half-step starry sky ruler. At that time, it would be like adding wings to a tiger. Longao was also a little impatient because the secret territory was in the valley. Whether it was him or the 8 of them, as long as they could enter the valley first, they would definitely be able to obtain the secret territory first. It was because of him that he had to enter the valley with the fastest speed possible and snatch the secret territory before the 8 of them. Not only that, he couldn't let the 8 of them know that he had entered the valley and snatched the secret territory. Otherwise, if the 8 of them knew about it, they would definitely leak it out. At that time, he would definitely be in big trouble. It would be even better if he could eliminate the source of the problem. In the current situation, he had to think of a way to enter the valley. Chapter 2463. The power of the valley was needless to say. Whether it was Longao or the other 8, they had all seen the power of the valley with their own eyes. The black fog engulfed them. As long as they were covered, they would die without a doubt. Under such circumstances, entering the valley was as hard as ascending to the heavens. Longao and the other 8 were very clear about this. The 9 were very solemn, as depressed as they could be, as depressed as they could be. They couldn't wait any longer. If this situation continued, who knew when it would end? No one was willing to wait any longer, because the longer this matter was delayed, the worse it would be for them. Among the 8-peak universe undying, Zhao Wu's strength was considered below average, breaking through to the peak universe undying level less than a few hundred years ago. It was a rather late breakthrough. Zhao Wu's temper was very fiery, and he was an impatient person. The others could wait, but Zhao Wu couldn't. "The 7 of you, I'm going to enter the valley now. Do you want to come with me?" Zhao Wu obviously wanted to go in alone. That way, not only could he take the source of power for himself, he could even take the secret domain for himself, becoming a half-universe ruler. How could the 7 not know what Zhao Wu meant? If it was any other matter, the 7 would definitely agree. Only this matter was different. The 7 were very worried. Once they entered the valley and encountered danger, they might not even be able to control their own lives. In the end, the 7-peak universe undying were still afraid. Zhou Feng said helplessly, "Brother Zhao, listen to my advice. Before we find a way, we shouldn't act rashly. Otherwise, once we enter the valley, we'll be in big trouble." The black fog released by the valley before was truly terrifying. Thinking about it now, they all knew what the consequences would be if they were to be swept by it. With the previous example, before they were fully confident, no one was willing to take the risk and enter the valley. Not to mention the secret domain, even if it was a primal chaos tablet, the 7 wouldn't dare casually enter the valley. Under the absolute temptation, they still had to see if they could succeed. Knowing there was a tiger in the mountain, they still went there. Even so, they still had to see if they could resist the danger in front of them. Zhao Wu sneered inside. With a cold snort, Zhao Wu said in a mocking tone, "The 7 of you are considered the top existences in the vast starry sky, yet you are so cowardly. If this continues..." At this point, Zhao Wu did not continue, but the meaning of his words was clear. The 7 of them remained unmoved. Zhou Feng said, "Brother Zhao, if that's the case, please go ahead." The other 6 did not say anything. They had already made their stance clear. They would definitely support Zhou Feng. Ha 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 ha. He laughed maniacally. Zhao Wu didn't continue to say anything. After laughing madly a few times, he immediately turned around and headed toward the valley. His speed was extremely fast. In just a short while, Zhao Wu's figure had already disappeared into the vast black fog. The 7 of them sighed deeply, because the moment Zhao Wu stepped into the valley, the result was already decided. Although they did not want anything to happen to Zhao Wu, the 7 of them did not wish for Zhao Wu to obtain the secret land and the source of power. Within the valley, Zhao Wu stepped into the valley as fast as he could, but after just a few dozen steps, he was already entangled by the black fog around him. The black fog kept coming one after another. He sneered. Zhao Wu ignored the black fog around him. While the black fog was entangling him, Zhao Wu had already made a quick move. According to the lock, Zhao Wu certainly did not want to be entangled with the black fog. His biggest goal was to find the source of power and the secret land as quickly as possible. That was the key. But what was the result? Zhao Wu thought too simply and even found it difficult to take a single step. Every step was difficult because the black fog around him had begun to sweep wildly. In a short while, Zhao Wu was completely enveloped. Zhao Wu could not move at all. That was the most shocking thing for him. At this moment, Zhao Wu was really scared. Because in this situation, he would definitely be killed when he stepped into the valley. Ah! A scream resounded throughout the valley. Outside the valley, everyone heard the scream coming from inside the valley. Zhao Wu was doomed. Everyone was very clear that Zhao Wu could not find the source of power and the secret land in the valley. Otherwise, they would not dare to stay outside instead of taking a step in. If Zhao Wu could get the source of power and the secret land, the 7 of them would definitely stop him. That was without a doubt. Not even his bones were left. With Zhao Wu's death, Gang Mu and the others became more and more scared. They did not dare to step into the valley and even thought of giving up. If it were not for the temptation of the things in the valley, the 7 of them would not have stayed for a minute. With regards to Zhao Wu's fall, Longao also knew about it. He was very afraid of the black fog that engulfed the valley. He could almost be sure that not only Zhao Wu, but also the other 7 people and himself, once they stepped into the valley, they would be killed by the black fog. This was without a doubt. Was it really impossible to touch the valley? If that was the case, what was the point of staying? There was no point at all. However, Longao was still unwilling to give up, because if he missed this opportunity, who knew if he would regret it in the future? Of course, Longao did not want to regret. If he still could not step into the valley in 1 year, he would choose to give up directly. If that really happened, he would not regret it at all. 1 year, this was the time Longao set for himself. Longao's expression was also very serious as he stared at the valley in front of him. If he just waited like this, there was no need to ask, no need to guess. He was almost certain that he would not have the chance to step into the valley. Take a risk. Longao still tried to release the power of his Yuan spirit and slowly approach the valley. Longao? The 7 of them could naturally sense that someone was releasing his Yuan spirit to investigate the valley. In the entire realm, other than the 7 of them, there was only Longao left. As for Zhao Wu's death in the valley, there was no doubt that it was not Zhao Wu. What do you guys think? Miao Ling smiled and said, what we can't do, Longao will definitely not be able to do it. In that case, there is no need for us to deal with him. Our most important mission is the source of power and the secret land in the valley. If it was any other time, they would definitely deal with Longao. However, the situation now was completely different. If they dealt with Longao and wasted time, they would not even have the chance to regret it. Chapter 2464. All 6 of them nodded in agreement. Just as Miao Linger said, they only had one important goal this time, and that was to enter the valley and seize the source of power and the secret realm. As for Longao, there was no need for him to act at this time. As long as he could successfully obtain the secret realm and become a half-step star dominator, killing Longao in the future would be a matter of minutes. As soon as his primordial spirit touched the black mist outside the valley, it would immediately be attacked by the black mist. Fortunately, Longao retracted his primordial spirit quickly. Otherwise, once his primordial spirit was covered by the black mist, the consequences would be unimaginable. His primordial spirit would definitely not work. In that case, apart from releasing his primordial spirit to probe the valley, what other methods should he use? After thinking for a long time, Longao could not think of a good idea. Just like that, whether it was Longao or the 7 of them, they were completely silent. The 2 sides did not fight each other, and just quietly guarded the valley. After several months of sensing, the 8 of them gradually realized that the black fog in the valley would sweep over them every once in a while. There was no specific time for it to happen. After grasping the pattern of the black mist in the valley, whether it was Longao or the 7 of them, they were no longer afraid of the black mist. However, this was still far from enough. Time passed by bit. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. Longao and the 7 of them also found a problem. That was, every month, the valley would have a brief moment of clarity. In other words, the black mist in the valley would temporarily disappear. They sensed that the black mist in the valley would disappear for about 6 hours. 6 hours was enough. In fact, 3 months ago, Longao and the 7 of them had already sensed the disappearance of the black mist in the valley. However, among the 8 of them, none of them dared to take the risk to step into the valley. Because no one knew how long the black mist would disappear for. What if it was only a few minutes or even a few seconds? In the 2nd month, the black mist in the valley disappeared without a trace, and it still remained for 6 hours. The situation was almost exactly the same as the previous month. Because of this, in the 3rd month, it was also the time when the black fog disappeared in the 1st and 2nd month. Longao and the 7 of them did not want to continue waiting, because it was better to resolve this matter sooner rather than later. Outside the valley, Longao was on the left while the 7 of them were on the right. If it were any other time or place, the two sides would definitely start a war. But now, the situation was a little special. Neither side was interested in dealing with the other. Instead, they wanted to enter the valley and seize the mystery realm. No matter what, they only had a short 6 hours. If they missed this opportunity, they would have to wait until the next month. The most important thing, no one knew if the same thing would happen again next month. If the black fog in the valley did not disappear within a month, they would not even have the chance to regret it. No one was willing to wait any longer. Longao, if you dare to snatch it, you will die without a doubt. Would Longao care? Longao sneered. He did not care about the 7 of them at all. He did not care about them before, he did not care about them now, and he would not care about them in the future. The 8 of them were all waiting because there was less than 2 hours left before the black mist disappeared. Once the time was up, they would all enter the valley without any hesitation. There were only 6 hours. If they could not get what they wanted within 6 hours, let alone seize the mystery realm, it was still unknown whether they could come out alive. No one knew what was going on in the valley. After entering the valley, it was still unknown whether 6 hours were enough. As for Zhao Wu, if he thought of this, he would probably regret it to death. However, death was death. Everyone had to be responsible for their own actions. This was the consequence of being impulsive. If it were a short 2 hours, it would be a matter of minutes for the 8 of them. Because for starry sky cultivators, not to mention 2 hours, even millions of years was not a problem. But now, the situation was a little special. It was just 2 hours, but it seemed like a year. Everyone looked nervously at the valley close at hand, hoping that there would be no mistakes. Otherwise, they would fail again. Minute by minute, second by second, under the shocked eyes of the 8 people, 2 hours finally passed quietly, and the black fog inside and outside the valley also disappeared without a trace. Seeing the situation in front of them, whether it was Longao or the 7 people, they were overjoyed and excited to the extreme. There was no accident at all. For the 8 of them, it was simply a great thing. The 7 people and Longao's speed soared to the extreme, flying towards the valley in front of them. Just at the entrance of the valley, the 7 people suddenly attacked Longao. There was no surprise, no anger, because Longao had already guessed that the 7 people would do this. If they did not do this, then they would not be 7 people. Giving them a taste of their own medicine. Longao was not easy to deal with. Just as the 7 people attacked him, the chaotic axe in Longao's hand also fiercely chopped towards the 7 people. The surrounding space cracks swarmed out and rushed towards the 7 people. The 7 people were extremely depressed. They thought that they would be able to kill Longao in one blow, but now it was obvious that they had failed. The 7 people were very afraid of Longao's space cracks. Especially at this time, they absolutely could not waste any time. The 7 people did not continue to be entangled, and ran away. In a short while, they had already disappeared from the valley. Longao did not continue to be entangled. After all, the most important purpose of stepping into the valley this time was to find the source of power, and even the secret realm. As for dealing with the 7 people, now was not the time. There would be opportunities in the future. Longao went in the direction of the valley according to his own senses. As for whose senses were right, no one was completely sure. Where was the source of power? It must be in the valley. As for the location of the valley, no one knew because the entire valley was too big. Even Longao's spirit could not cover the entire valley. What kind of concept was this? Longao was very shocked. If he hadn't experienced it personally, it would have been hard to believe. Because, under normal circumstances, with his primordial spirit, not to mention a small valley, even if it was this plain, it could easily cover it. Because of this, Longao really could not figure out why his spirit could cover an entire plain, but it could not cover the valley. What was going on? In any case, the valley was within the plain, not outside it. He could not figure it out, really could not figure it out. It was completely inconceivable. Longao's intuition told him that this was definitely not so simple. Was 6 hours really enough? Chapter 2465. If that was the case, 6 hours would be far from enough. He could only hope that he could find the source of power and the secret domain within 6 hours. If he couldn't find it, even the other 7-peak starry sky immortals would be in trouble. Longao's speed rose to the max. The longer he delayed, the more disadvantageous it would be for him. It wasn't just Longao. The other 7 were also very fast. The 8 of them sensed the same location, heading towards the deepest part of the valley. Boundless? What was going on? Under normal circumstances, with the speed of the 8 of them, it would only take a few seconds for them to reach the end of the valley. But now? The 8 of them had been running for dozens of minutes, but they still hadn't reached the end of the valley. If this continued, who knew what would happen? The source of power was nowhere in sight. The most special thing was that the 8 of them could clearly sense that the source of power was nearby, but they still couldn't find it. Whether it was Longao or the 7 of them, they all stopped. The 2 sides weren't too far apart. In this situation, the 2 sides did not kill each other, because everyone knew very well that they only had 6 hours, and now they did not even have 6 hours. If they delayed, they might die here. They couldn't afford to waste any more time. Tell me what's going on? If they couldn't find the source of power within 4 hours, they would have to leave the valley and wait for the next opportunity. The source of power and the secret domain might be tempting, but compared to their lives, it wasn't enough. No one was willing to lose their lives for the sake of the secret domain and the source of power. Miao Ling-er's expression was solemn as she said, "I just set up a formation, and after dozens of minutes of sensing, I sensed something." Miao Ling-er didn't hide anything from Longao. From their point of view, even if Longao knew, it wouldn't matter. With Longao's strength, wanting to snatch the source of power and the secret domain from them was simply a pipe dream. Hurry up and say it. Hearing that Miao Ling-er had already sensed it, everyone couldn't help but feel a little impatient. Miao Ling-er also knew the severity of the situation. She said solemnly, "Actually, this valley is just an illusion. The valley isn't that big, and the source of power is right beside us. If we can't break through the formation, we'll never be able to find the source of power and the mystic realm." Illusion array. So that was the case. After hearing Miao Ling-er's words, the 6 of them did not have the slightest bit of doubt. This was because they were all very clear about Miao Ling-er's proficiency in formations. In the vast starry sky, the most valiant existence was definitely a starry sky immortal. It was just that such heaven-defying existences would almost never appear. Next, it was the immortal starry space formation. Regardless of Longao or Miao Ling-er, Both of them were heaven-defying existences. Why would an illusory array suddenly appear in the valley? Could this place be man-made? Miao Ling, how confident are you in breaking this illusion formation? I don't know. From what I sensed, the illusion array here is very powerful. According to my guess, if I'm not mistaken, this illusion array should have been arranged by a starry sky immortal. Starry sky immortal? Hearing this, the 6 of them were shocked. Of course, they knew what a starry sky immortal meant. That was the pinnacle existence of formations. Unless it was a half-step starry sky ruler or a starry sky ruler, no one would be a match for a starry sky immortal. Miao Ling, according to what you said, this illusion array is man-made? Yes, as expected. Everyone's expression turned increasingly ugly. They found it hard to imagine that such a heaven-defying existence would appear here. If she didn't fall, they would be in big trouble. On the other side, Longao had already sensed the illusion array here. He had also guessed that the person who arranged this array was most likely a starry sky immortal. Whether the other party was dead or not was still a mystery. If he had fallen, then everything would be fine. If he hadn't, then everyone here was unlucky. After all, a starry sky immortal was too powerful. Everyone, forgive me for saying something. Please say it. The current Miao Ling had gradually become the leader of the 7. Among the 7 of them, only Miao Ling was an array master. Moreover, she was a powerful starry sky immortal. Miao Ling smiled helplessly and said, "With just my strength alone, there is no way I can break through this illusion formation. If I have the help of another formation master, I have an 80% chance of breaking through it and successfully finding the source of power and the secret realm. Furthermore, the black fog will not engulf us." Another array master? What did that mean? The 6 of them weren't fools. They naturally understood what Miao Ling meant. She wanted to borrow Longao's strength. They didn't have any problems with it. As long as they could find the source of power and the secret realm, it was fine. However, whether the other party was willing or not wasn't something they could control. However, things had already progressed to this stage. In order to find the source of power and the secret realm smoothly, the 6 of them were prepared to give it a try. They had less than 3 hours. They couldn't afford to waste any more time. Otherwise, not to mention finding the source of power and the secret realm, they might not even be able to leave alive. Longao, why don't we work together? Longao had already guessed the intentions of the 7 of them. He had also sensed that whether it was him or Miao Ling, it was impossible for them to break the formation by themselves. If they worked together, the chances of them breaking the formation would be very high. If it was any other time, Longao would definitely not agree to this. After all, he knew how shameless the 7 of them were. Even if he helped them, they might not let him go. However, the situation now was completely different. If he didn't help, he wouldn't be able to break the illusion array, let alone obtain the source of power and the secret realm. That was indeed the case. Longao smiled and said, "What do you want us to work together?" Asking the obvious. Miao Ling wasn't angry at all. She smiled and said, "You and I are both array masters. Moreover, you should know that if we don't work together, it'll be difficult to break the illusion array. As for the source of power and the secret realm, we'll rely on our own abilities. How about it?" "That's not a problem. However, you have to swear a blood oath that after we break the illusion array, you won't do anything to me. How about that?" "Impossible." Before Longao could finish speaking, Gang Mu and Yi Chong immediately rejected him. What kind of joke was this? They originally wanted to kill Longao immediately after breaking the illusion array. If they had to swear a blood oath, they wouldn't be able to do anything. It was precisely because of this that the 2 of them refused to swear a blood oath. Not only the 2 of them, the others also wouldn't agree to this. Chapter 2466. I can't. Longao smiled. He didn't care anyway. At most, he would leave the valley and think of a solution. Longao knew that just because he wasn't in a hurry, it didn't mean the others weren't. As expected, the others glared at Yi Chong and Gang Mu. Under such circumstances, they had to agree with Longao and get the source of power and the secret realm first. Longao, we can promise you that we won't do anything to you, but there's a condition. What condition? It's very simple. We can snatch the source of power and the secret realm, but you can't play dirty. No problem. Longao didn't even think about it before agreeing. Play dirty? What was dirty? I'm afraid that this matter is a matter of different people's opinions. Longao didn't force them to make a blood oath because he knew that once they found the source of power and the secret realm, they would definitely fight. They wouldn't make such an oath. In the following time, Longao and Miaoling worked together and tried to break the illusion array. Under normal circumstances, if the array's limit Starry Sky Immortal was still there, not to mention Longao and Miaoling, even if there were 10 more Starry Sky Immortals, they wouldn't be able to break the array. However, the current situation was a little special. According to everyone's guess, the array's limit Starry Sky Immortal should have died. In this way, with Longao and Miaoling's combined strength, they managed to break through the illusory array in just a few hours. Once the array was broken, the black fog would disappear completely. As for whether it would continue to spread, it was still unknown. As the array was broken, the valley's situation changed again. The valley was no longer boundless. With the strength of the 8, their Yuan spirit power could cover the entire valley. It's in the east. The 8 sensed the location of the source of power at the same time. Without any hesitation, the 8 of them sped up to the limit and flew towards the source of power. Because of the blood oath, the 7 of them didn't kill each other. As for Longao, the 7 of them did not have the time to deal with the Longao. Under such circumstances, the value of the source of power and the secret land far surpassed the value of Longao. Whoever arrived first might be able to obtain the source of power and the secret realm. The speed of the 8 people was extremely fast. In just a few short seconds, Yi Zichen was stunned. It was a squarish black 10-headed creature with black fog all over its body. It looked very strange. Don't move. Miaoling had just arrived when she abruptly stopped. Those who were listening to her advice immediately stopped. Only Wang Ying continued to rush forward at an extremely fast speed. Wang Ying's strength was very strong, second only to Zhou Feng. If it were any other time, or if it were any other matter, Wang Ying would not be so reckless even if he was beaten to death. Except for this matter. Whether it was the source of power or the mystic realm, to Wang Ying it was too tempting. Under the absolute temptation, Wang Ying did not listen to any persuasion at all and still insisted on rushing out. The remaining 7 people did not move. Wang Ying's speed was simply too fast. In just a few seconds, Wang Ying's figure had already reached the black boulder. According to everyone's guess, the black boulder should be the so-called secret realm if there were no surprises. This was the first time they had seen a secret land. Just as Wang Ying's right hand touched the black boulder, a miserable cry rang out. Seeing Wang Ying's body being shrouded by the black fog, before anyone could react, Wang Ying's figure had already disappeared bit by bit. In just a few seconds, Wang Ying's body had already disappeared without a trace. What was going on? Looking at everything that happened in front of them, no matter if it was Longao or the 6 people, they were all completely shocked. They simply didn't know what was going on. Why would the black boulder suddenly cover Wang Ying and even destroy him? Miaoling, what's going on? Until now, everyone was still a little scared. If not for Miaoling's reminder, not only Wang Ying, but everyone else would have already died. The more they thought about it, the more scared and unwilling they felt. No one was grateful to Miaoling. This was the cruelty of reality. Under such circumstances, Miao Ling did not seem to mind at all. After thinking for a while, she said, I don't know what's going on either. I just feel that there's something wrong with the black boulder, especially the black fog. No one doubted Miao Ling-er's words. However, if that was the case, things would be troublesome. After all, the black boulder in front of them was a genuine secret land. Everyone wanted to get their hands on it. However, with the previous example, no one dared to act rashly. Under such circumstances, what should they do? Everyone's expression was solemn as they stared at the black boulder. At this moment, Gang Mu said, I believe everyone has heard about the secret land. The secret land is different from the primal chaos stone tablet. The tablets themselves contain the power of primal chaos. As long as you can devour them, you can become a space dominator. How could they not know this? They just did not know what Gang Mu was trying to say. Gang Mu continued, the secret land itself does not contain the power of primal chaos. However, it will be refined by the primal chaos to create the heart of the secret land. As long as we can obtain the secret land and devour the heart of the secret land, we can become a half-step space dominator. Gang Mu, what are you trying to say? Why don't you just say it? Some people were impatient. Gang Mu was dawdling, not knowing what to say. How could Gang Mu not know how anxious they were? He did not know whether he should be happy or helpless. He said, according to my guess, if I'm not mistaken, the secret realm before us hasn't been refined by chaotic force, nor has the heart of the secret realm been refined. Therefore, this secret realm shouldn't be a real secret realm. No one was a fool. In an instant, they understood what Gang Mu meant. Now that they thought about it, it was true. Was it a good thing or a bad thing? Gang Mu's words were also Longao's guess. The secret land in front of them was still being refined by the power of primal chaos. The heart of the secret land had not been created yet. Therefore, it was not a real secret land. Even if they could devour it, they would not be able to use it to become a half-step space dominator. If that was the case, didn't that mean that the black fog surrounding the black rock was the genuine primal chaos force? It was the primal chaos force that the God Diviner had always wanted, the primal chaos force within the primal chaos stone tablet? Longao was very excited in his heart. However, he did not know where the black fog around the black boulder, which was the so-called primal chaos force, came from. He had already sensed that there was not the slightest bit of black fog aura in the surroundings. If that was the case, where did the primal chaos force in the black fog come from? Chapter 2467. What would happen if they could devour the primal chaos energy? No one knew. Longao guessed it, so did the other 6. Even so, no one dared to casually make a move. Because Wang Ying's example was still fresh in their minds. Unless they were tired of living and wanted to die. Longao didn't act rashly either. Because he didn't know what would happen if he forcefully devoured the primal chaos energy. Just like that, the remaining 7 stared intently at the black boulder before them. Once the secret territory was completely refined by the chaotic force and the heart of the secret territory was refined, they would fight for it with all their might. They didn't dare to relax at all. Snatching the secret domain depended on one's own ability. Time flew by and time flowed by. Unknowingly, a month passed in the blink of an eye. The black rock was still shrouded by the black fog. No one knew how long the secret domain would be refined by the primal chaos energy. 3 months? 30,000 years? Or 3 million years? Or even 30 million years? Even so, no one was willing to give up. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity for them. As long as they could successfully devour the secret domain, they would have a chance to break through to half-step space dominator. There was only one word to describe the current situation. Wait. Even if they died, they wouldn't give up. Of course, Longao wasn't going to sit around and wait for his death. Once the chaotic force completely refined the secret territory and refined the heart of the secret territory, it would be too difficult for him to continue seizing the secret territory. The secret domain and the primal chaos stone tablet didn't conflict. Longao was helpless. Although he had already obtained the attributeless primal chaos stone tablet, God knows how long it would take to completely refine it. Now that he had finally found the secret domain, he had to think of a way to get it and break through to half-step space dominator. Exactly. Longao hadn't been idle during this month. He had been thinking of all sorts of ways to obtain the secret domain in the shortest time possible. The attributeless primal chaos stone tablet, primal chaos palace, primal chaos axe, primal chaos seal. He had used everything he could, but without a doubt, nothing could help him obtain the secret domain. What should he do? No matter how he thought about it, he still couldn't think of a good idea. Gang Mu, Yi Chong, Jin Chen, Hua Boli, Zhou Feng, Miao Ling the six-peak universe undyings were no longer in an alliance. Although the six of them had already sworn blood oaths, under the absolute temptation, even friends could become enemies. There are no eternal enemies and no eternal friends. In the face of absolute benefits, even the best of friends could become enemies, and even the most hated of enemies could become friends. This was the reality. The six of them slowly spread out. This was because everyone knew that once the chaotic energy successfully refined the secret realm, they would each think of a way to obtain the secret realm. Can I not do it? The blood oath that the six of them had sworn before had a flaw in it. Killing each other for the sake of the secret realm was something that could happen in a matter of minutes. It was precisely because of this that the six of them were extremely wary of the other party, fearing that they would be killed. As the saying goes, it is better to be safe than sorry, especially in front of a secret realm. Longao, if you don't mind, why don't we talk? Miao Linger? Longao was wary of Miao Linger because she was the only array master among them. Moreover, she was a powerful star sky undying. Her strength was enough to threaten him. If not for the primal chaos palace, Longao would definitely be wary of Miao Linger. But now, Longao smiled and said, I'm more than happy to. It was still the same saying, there were no eternal enemies or eternal friends in the world. There were only eternal benefits. Everyone fought for themselves and no one was right or wrong. If he could become friends with Miao Linger, he would have an assistant later on. Otherwise, it wouldn't be easy to fight the six of them alone. The two of them retreated a few hundred meters. A table and two chairs appeared out of thin air. There was also a pot of wine and two wine cups on the table. It wasn't strange for women to drink. Sometimes women would drink more than men. Brother Long, please. Miss Miao, please. Longao and Miao Linger each picked up the wine cup on the table and drank it in one gulp. Far away, when the five of them saw Miao Linger and Longao's actions, they could roughly guess what was going on. If they weren't mistaken, Miao Linger was trying to find a way out for herself. Because in this kind of situation, a formation master was obviously more useful than the five of them. It would be a lie to say that they weren't angry. Miao Linger's actions showed that she didn't put the five of them in her eyes at all. It was simply unbearable. If it was any other time, the five of them would have attacked without hesitation. Even if they couldn't kill the two of them, they wouldn't have held back, because this was a complete humiliation to them. But now, the situation was completely different. If they attacked forcefully and couldn't kill the two of them would definitely cause trouble when the five of them fought for the secret realm. The gains wouldn't make up for the losses. Another important reason was that the five of them had their own ulterior motive. No one was willing to join forces to deal with the two of them because they were afraid that they would delay the fight for the secret realm. Under such circumstances, no matter how angry the five of them were, they could only hold it in. May I know why Miss Miao is looking for me? Asking the obvious. How could Miao Ling not know what Longao was thinking? She laughed in her heart and said, "Brother Long, you're too polite. If you don't mind, you don't have to call me Miss Miao. Why don't you call me Ling?" Longao shrugged helplessly. He didn't reject and said, "Okay. Brother Long, please forgive me for what happened before. I won't waste time talking nonsense now. Forgive me for being blunt. When the secret realm is refined successfully, they will definitely deal with you. If you and I join forces, not only can we resist the attacks of the 5 of them, we can even obtain the secret realm. What do you think?" Miao Ling seemed to be very confident in this matter because she and Longao were both Starry Sky immortals. Once they joined forces, they could quickly set up a powerful array. At that time, even if it was 2 against 5, they would still be able to fight. Longao wasn't surprised at all because he had already guessed Miao Ling's intentions. If there weren't any benefits, Miao Ling wouldn't join forces with him unless there was water in her brain. On one side was him, and on the other side were 5 peak Starry Sky immortals. Who would choose? In the end, it was because he was a so-called array master. Otherwise, Longao was almost certain that Miao Ling wouldn't dare to take the risk and join forces with him to provoke the 5 of them. This was an undeniable fact. Chapter 2468. Linglan smiled. "No problem, I can promise you that." Miao Ling wasn't surprised at all. If Longao didn't agree under such circumstances, he would be a fool. With 2 powerful array masters working together, they could definitely fight against 5 peak Starry Sky immortals. How could the 5 of them not know about this? So what if they knew? They could only hope that the 2 of them were only allies on the surface. Once the secret realm was refined, the 2 of them would turn against each other. But would that really happen? As long as Longao and Miao Ling weren't fools, they wouldn't do that. Because both of them knew very well in their hearts that since the matter had already come to this point, if they turned against each other and killed each other, it would only allow others to reap the benefits. Longao and Miao Ling were both old foxes. How could they let such a thing happen? It was simply a joke. The surrounding black fog was still refining the black rock. As for when it would be refined, it was still an unknown. Everyone was waiting anxiously, not daring to waste a single second. Because no one knew when the secret realm would be refined. If there was any delay, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Wait. Gradually, both sides started to get impatient. If this continued, who knew how long they would have to wait? If there wasn't any danger, it wouldn't matter how long they had to wait. But the current situation was a little special. No one could be sure that there wouldn't be any danger around. If they continued to wait, no one knew what would happen. They were helpless. Were they going to give up just like that? That was nonsense. Longao and the rest knew about this. If they gave up just like that, they would look down on themselves. Even Longao was prepared to enter the Primal Chaos Palace at any time. Longao didn't know what would happen next. But with the help of the Primal Chaos Palace, he believed that no danger would be able to keep him here. "Brother Long, what do you think about this?" Miao Ling-er's face was solemn. As an array master, she didn't seem to be of much use in this situation. As for Miao Ling-er's meaning, how could Longao not know? He smiled helplessly. After thinking about it, Longao looked at the huge, black rock before him and said, "According to my senses, if nothing unexpected happens, it'll take several hundred years or even several thousand years for chaotic force to successfully refine the secret realm and the heart of the secret realm." Hearing Longao's words, Miao Ling jumped in fright. In normal times, hundreds of years or even thousands of years would not be a problem. However, for Starry Sky's cultivators, each time they went into seclusion, hundreds or even thousands of years would just be a matter of minutes. However, the current situation was very special. If they kept waiting like this, no one knew what would happen. After hearing those words, Miao Linger felt even more helpless and solemn. Brother Long, I believe you know very well that waiting like this is not the way to go. Danger may appear at any time. He nodded. Longao said helplessly, Miao Ling-er. Although Miao Ling-er wanted Longao to call her Ling-er, Longao did not agree. He just called her Ling-er. Miao Ling-er, I know you're worried, but there's nothing we can do in this situation. I'm going to take a look around. Do you want to stay here or come with me? I'll stay. He wasn't surprised at all. It would be strange if Miao Ling-er left with him. Since that's the case, I'll take my leave first. Okay. Be careful. Miao Ling-er naturally wouldn't choose to leave. The reason was simple. She wouldn't let this opportunity go to waste. Although Longao said that they would have to wait hundreds or thousands of years, no one dared to say for sure that the chaotic force would be able to refine the secret realm. What if it didn't take hundreds or thousands of years? It would only take a few hours or a few days. If he chose to leave, wouldn't he miss out on this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity? No matter what, as long as she could devour the secret realm, she would become a half-step starry sky ruler. Seeing Longao leave, Gang Mu and the others were very curious. They didn't know why Longao would choose to leave at this time. Could it be that Longao didn't want to snatch the secret realm? That seemed a little ridiculous. After all, the heaven-defying temptation of the secret realm was something that no one could resist, let alone Longao. Since that was the case, why did Longao leave? Although they didn't put Longao in their eyes, one more person was one more trouble. It was a good thing that Longao left. After dealing with the matter of the secret realm, it wouldn't be too late to deal with Longao. Longao's secret was also very attractive. But compared to the secret realm, it was nothing. Longao walked around. The whole valley wasn't too big. Except for the position of the black boulder, the other places were similar. His main purpose of leaving this time was to find the chaotic force. Longao knew very well that since the chaotic force and the secret realm had appeared in the valley, there must be a source of chaotic force, which was the origin of the chaotic force. It was the so-called source of power. Longao was almost certain that the chaotic force he was looking for was in the valley. It was just that he hadn't found it yet. The others just stared at the secret realm and ignored the chaotic force. The secret realm was nothing in front of the chaotic force. If he had to choose between the two, Longao would not hesitate to search for the chaotic force and choose to give up the secret realm. Longao came to a secret place and took out the chaotic seal from the chaotic palace. He held the chaotic seal tightly in his right hand and released the power of his primordial spirit, which slowly seeped into the chaotic seal. Longao wasn't in a hurry as he sensed it slowly. This was because he could clearly sense that the chaotic force couldn't be successfully refined into a secret realm in a short period of time. It would take at least hundreds or thousands of years. This period of time was enough for him to search for the chaotic force. If he still couldn't find the chaotic force after such a long time, he could only blame himself for his bad luck. No response at all? Longao was helpless. If even the chaotic seal couldn't deal with it, it seemed like it was a troublesome matter. However, Longao didn't choose to give up. The chaotic force was more attractive than the secret realm. So, how could he give up so easily? It was a joke. Since the chaotic seal couldn't sense the location of the chaotic force, Longao used the chaotic axe to see if it could sense it. Chapter 2469. Longao used the same method to see if he could sense the location of the power of chaos by borrowing the power of the chaos axe. Longao was bent on getting his hands on the power of chaos no matter what. The power of essence spirit entered the chaos axe slowly as Longao focused on sensing it. 1 second. 1 second. 1 second. Time passed by quickly. After a long time, Longao finally came to a stop. Finally, Longao sighed out deeply. Even with the power of the Chaos Axe, he could not sense the location of the power of chaos. Was he going to give up? Indignant. He was truly indignant. Longao was clear of what the power of chaos meant to him. He would definitely not dare to devour the power of chaos by force. However, just because he could not devour the power of chaos by force did not mean that he could not use it for the Chaos Stone Tablet. After all, he could almost guarantee that there would definitely be power of chaos within the Chaos Stone Tablet. Under normal circumstances, if he wanted to cultivate the Chaos Stone Tablet and become a ruler of the universe, who knew how long it would take? If he could make use of the power of chaos to cultivate the Chaos Stone Tablet, things would be much more reliable. Not only that, Longao had another little plan in his heart. If he could cultivate the Chaos Stone Tablet completely and gain control of the power of chaos, there would be no one in the entire universe who would be a match for him. That included the godly mathematician and the others. This was something that would never happen. With that, Longao could not choose to give up. That was a completely nonsensical thing. After using everything he had, the only thing left was the Chaos Hall. However, Longao did not harbor much hope. However, he was still prepared to give it a try so that he could give up completely. Given Longao's current strength, there was no way he could control the Chaos Hall. Therefore, whether or not he could make use of the power of the Chaos Hall to sense the location of the power of chaos was still an unknown. However, the chances of failure were extremely high. Longao had already thought it through. If even the Chaos Hall failed, he would have to think of other ways to find out the location of the power of chaos. Would he succeed? Longao was exasperated. He had already guessed that every time he tried to use the Chaos Stone Tablet, it would probably end in failure. But the outcome? In just a few minutes, the mysterious power within the primal Chaos Palace appeared once again, causing Longao to be pleasantly surprised. Although Longao wasn't sure what kind of power it was, he was certain that even if it wasn't as strong as chaotic force, it wouldn't be too far off. The appearance of the mysterious energy instantly enveloped Longao. Longao tried to devour the mysterious energy released by the primal Chaos Palace. Because of the previous experience, as long as he could devour the mysterious energy, his cultivation would increase greatly. However, the situation this time was almost exactly the same as before. No matter how hard Longao tried, he still couldn't devour the mysterious power. He was extremely depressed. It seemed that he was still dreaming if he wanted to rely on the mysterious power to break through the Starry Sky Legend realm. However, if the mysterious power could help him lock onto the location of the chaotic force, it would be a very good thing. At that moment, Longao's expression suddenly changed and he was pleasantly surprised. In the southwest direction, Longao was shocked. Although he had guessed that the location of the chaotic force was likely to be in the valley was only so big. With his strength, he could easily cover the entire valley. No matter how he tried to sense it, he couldn't sense the location of the chaotic force at all. But now, according to the mysterious power released by the primal Chaos Palace, the exact location of the chaotic force was indeed in the southwest direction of the valley. There was no doubt about it. Without the slightest hesitation, Longao rushed frantically towards the southwest direction at his fastest speed. With Longao's speed, he arrived almost in a single step. However, when he arrived at his destination, he couldn't find the location of the chaotic force. However, Longao relied on the mysterious power and could clearly sense that the position of the chaotic power was right in front of him. What was going on? What was going on? He couldn't figure it out. He really couldn't figure it out. Longao stood quietly on the spot. Relying on the mysterious power, he sensed the situation around him. He wanted to see where the so-called chaotic force was and why he couldn't touch it even though it was clearly here. If he didn't experience it himself, he would find it hard to believe that such a thing could happen. Someone's here. Before Longao could react, 6 figures arrived one after another. They were none other than Gang Mu, Yi Chong, and the others. Longao, what are you trying to do? It turned out that after Longao left, Gang Mu and the others felt that something was amiss. Because of the absolute temptation of the secret realm, Longao had chosen to give up and leave. It would be a lie to say that there wasn't something fishy going on. The secret realm was refined by the chaotic force. As for how long it would take to refine it, no one knew. In any case, it was impossible to refine it in a short period of time. Since that was the case, the 5 of them discussed and decided to leave first to see what Longao wanted to do. As for Miao Ling she was worried about Longao and followed them. Miao Ling was a decent person. Since she had decided to cooperate with Longao, she wouldn't be half-hearted. This was also the reason why Longao had agreed to cooperate with her. What does it have to do with you what I want to do? Longao's face was filled with mockery and contempt. If it was many years ago, perhaps an extreme starry sky immortal realm expert would be a high and mighty existence in his eyes. But now, even an extreme starry sky immortal realm expert was nothing. It was just that he was slightly stronger. His shamelessness didn't change at all. The 5 of them seemed to be used to it. They didn't put Longao's ridicule and arrogance in their eyes. However, Gang Mu sneered and said, Longao, are you locking the position of the primal chaos power? Apart from this possibility, there seemed to be no other explanation. Because under the absolute temptation of the secret realm, only the chaotic force could compare or even surpass the secret realm. Because of this, the 5 of them, including Miao Ling had already guessed that the reason why Longao chose to give up on the secret realm was because he wanted to lock onto the primal chaos energy. If that was the case, then the primal chaos energy was indeed above the secret realm. After all, even the 12 rulers of the starry sky were unable to truly control the primal chaos energy within the primal chaos stone tablet. Longao only smiled and didn't say anything. He didn't admit or deny it. The more he acted like this, the more certain the 5 of them were that Longao was trying to locate the chaotic force. If they could use this opportunity to obtain the chaotic force, it couldn't be better. Thinking of this, the 5 of them felt a little excited. Chapter 2470. Longao, as long as you can help us obtain the primal chaos energy, not only can we write off our previous grudges, we can even become friends. What do you think? As long as he could get the primal chaos energy, he might be able to become a space ruler or even surpass it. Such a temptation was definitely far greater than that of a mystic realm. The 5 of them pressed on. The meaning of the 5 people was already very clear. As long as Longao said half a word of no, he believed that the 5 people would not hesitate to attack. Regarding this matter, how could Longao not know? Would Longao be afraid? If it were anyone else facing 5-peak universe undying, it would be unrealistic to say they weren't afraid. Only Longao. If Longao was afraid, he wouldn't be Longao. Not to mention 5-peak universe undying, Longao wouldn't even be afraid of a half-step space ruler or even a space ruler. He sneered. If you want to locate the primal chaos energy, you can do it yourselves. Why do you need to rely on me? How shameless. Kill. The 5 of them decided that even if they couldn't kill Longao, they had to trap him. At that time, they could search his soul. At that time, they could find out whatever they wanted. Regardless of whether it was Longao or Miao Ling both of them knew clearly what the 5 of them meant. Miao Ling took a step forward and arrived beside Longao. Longao smiled. It was also at this moment that Longao finally treated Miao Ling as a true friend. because under such circumstances, Miao Ling still stood beside him without hesitation. This in itself showed Miao Ling character. He didn't say a word of thanks. Everything was said in silence. Longao smiled. Miao Ling also smiled. If it was just Longao or Miao Ling alone, the five of them wouldn't care at all. But when the two joined forces, the five of them were fearful. Two universe undying experts joining forces. It was obvious what it meant. The five people's faces were very gloomy, as ugly as they could be. Gang Mu coldly said, Miao Ling are you really going to help Longao? It would be best if he could convince Miao Ling. No one was willing to take the risk. In front of life and death, even a peak universe undying wouldn't dare act rashly. Miao Ling laughed coldly as she mocked. Longao and I are already friends. Since I've decided on something, I won't change my mind. The five of them weren't fools. They naturally understood what Miao Ling meant. The faces of the five people became increasingly gloomy. Attack? Or not to make a move? For a moment, the five of them didn't know what to do. Thinking of this, Zhou Feng suddenly smiled and said, Longao, we don't mean any harm. No malice? Longao and Miao Ling smiled. It would be strange if the five of them didn't have any ill intentions. Their intentions were clear. Neither Longao nor Miao Ling said anything. The two of them wanted to hear what Zhou Feng wanted to say. After all, among the five of them, Zhou Feng's character was considered decent. During the chase, only Zhou Feng and Miao Ling used their full strength. Longao was very sure of this. Because of this, Longao had a good impression of this person. He knew that if Zhou Feng wanted to kill him, he wouldn't have shown any mercy. As for Zhou Feng's strength, Longao was naturally aware. Among the five of them, Zhou Feng was considered the strongest. Longao, as long as you can help us find the location of the primal chaos energy, we can devour it together. In the future, we can form an alliance and rule the entire universe. Zhou Feng's ambition wasn't small. However, as a peak universe undying, if he didn't have such ambition, he wouldn't be a peak universe undying. Regarding this point, Longao still understood very well. However, Longao smiled and said, Zhou Feng, I'm a person with principles. If it's a friend, it's not a problem. But if it's an enemy, even if I die, I won't let the enemy get away with it. If it was you, what would you do? Zhou Feng was rendered speechless by the question. Because if it was him, he wouldn't agree either. Not to mention himself and Longao, he believed that no matter who it was, they wouldn't agree. Seeing that Zhou Feng didn't speak, Jin Chen became impatient. He didn't know what Zhou Feng was afraid of. Although it was troublesome for the two of them to work together, did the five of them need to be afraid of fighting 2 against 5? Longao, don't be shameless when we give you face. A wise man submits to the circumstances. The conditions that we have given you are already good enough. You better not reach for a yard after taking an inch otherwise, or your sister's grandmother. Before Jin Chen could finish, Longao interrupted him and sneered, I'll say it one last time. You're not my friends, you're my enemies. If you want to fight, then fight. If you don't, then scram. Longao's arrogance completely shocked everyone. They had seen arrogant people, but they had never seen such arrogance. Not to mention that Longao was just a small starry sky legend. Even if a peak starry sky immortal stood in front of him, they believed that he wouldn't dare to act like this. The five of them looked at each other and saw the deep killing intent in each other's eyes. Only Zhou Feng said at this time, Everyone, let's go. Hearing this, the other 4 were shocked because they'd guessed what Zhou Feng meant. The 4 of them didn't expect Zhou Feng to be like this. Without the help of a peak universe undying, they didn't have much confidence in dealing with Longao and Miao Ling. The 4 of them didn't dare to give up so easily. Gang Mu immediately said, Brother Zhou, are you going to give up on the primal chaos energy? If it was something else, they could give it up and deal with Longao after dealing with the secret realm. However, the situation was different now. The primal chaos energy was too tempting. How could Zhou Feng not know what the four of them were thinking? His intuition told him that Longao wasn't as simple as he'd imagined. If Longao really had a sure kill move against them, they wouldn't even have the chance to regret it. Zhou Feng didn't dare to take the risk, especially when Miao Ling chose Longao and gave up on them. He knew Miao Ling too well. Without full confidence, she wouldn't do this. The more it was like this, the more uncertain Zhou Feng was. Even when he wanted to become friends with Longao, he had held back before. When he was chasing Longao, he did not use his full strength because of this. How should he choose? Should he choose to be friends with Longao? Or should he continue to be enemies? Zhou Feng didn't know what to choose. Chapter 2471. His stance wasn't firm. Thus, the four of them began to suspect Zhou Feng. If Zhou Feng was the same as Miao Ling then things would be troublesome. Brother Zhou, are you really not going to do anything? Longao and Miao Ling didn't say anything because they didn't know what Zhou Feng meant. Zhou Feng shook his head. Zhou Feng smiled and said, "Forgive me for being blunt, but I don't have any grudges with Longao. I listened to you guys before, and I believe Longao won't mind." Zhou Feng was very shameless. "You're chasing after him, and you're saying he won't mind?" Longao shrugged nonchalantly. His meaning was clear. Seeing Longao's actions, Zhou Feng smiled. The faces of the four people became increasingly gloomy, as ugly as they could get. "Brother Zhou, then what do you mean? From now on, our alliance ends here." Following Zhou Feng's words, the five of them broke off completely. This was something they didn't expect. They had already lost 2 peak Starry Sky immortals, and now another 2 had betrayed them. This way, the other side had 3 while they only had 4. 3 against 4, the 4 of them weren't confident they could kill all 3. "Brother Zhou, are you saying you want to go against us and ally with Longao?" How could Zhou Feng not know what the 4 of them meant? "You can think whatever you want." An ambiguous answer. However, the 4 of them already knew what Zhou Feng meant. If that was the case, then things would become troublesome. Especially if Longao really led the 2 of them to the primal chaos energy, then everything would be troublesome. Although they didn't want to admit it, the 4 of them were very clear that the reason they could enter the valley and find the secret domain was because of Longao. Without Longao, there was no doubt that the 4 of them would not be able to find the secret realm. It was unknown whether they would even be able to step into the valley. Until now, they still didn't know how Longao did it. They couldn't figure it out. The more it was like this, the more they were afraid. How did Longao do it? "Brother Long, I want to be friends with you. Are you willing?" I couldn't ask for more. Longao naturally knew what Zhou Feng meant. However, it was better to have one more friend than one more enemy. Especially under such circumstances, Longao would definitely not provoke Zhou Feng. As for whether Zhou Feng was worth befriending, it was still too early to say. 3-4. Gang Mu and the other 3 took a step forward. Killing intent slowly rose from their bodies, rolling out and enveloping the 3 of them. Their intention was clear. They wanted to kill them. Would Longao and the other 2 care? The 3 of them merely laughed, not placing the 4 in their eyes. Miao Linger coldly laughed. "The 4 of you are really overestimating yourselves. If Longao and I were to set up the formation, and with Zhou Feng's help." Miao Ling didn't finish her words, but her meaning was clear. The 4 of them were not fools. They also knew the difference in strength between the 2 sides. If they really fought, they might not necessarily win. Should they choose to give up? They were very unwilling because they knew very well what it meant if they chose to give up. Once Longao and the other 2 devoured the primal chaos energy, not to mention the 4 of them, even if the Starry Sky ruler descended, he might not be a match for the three of them. It was precisely because of this that they were determined not to give up. Longao, join forces with us. If we find the primal chaos energy, we will split it equally. How about it? Before Longao could speak, Zhou Feng had already arrived. At this time, Zhou Feng came to Longao's side and said with his spiritual sense, Longao, now is not the time to be enemies with the four of them. If we choose to fight them head-on, we won't get any advantage. What did Zhou Feng mean? Longao also said through his spiritual awareness, Brother Zhou, what should I do? Brother Zhou. Longao considered Zhou Feng as a friend. It was because of this that Zhou Feng said, Brother Long, according to my opinion, why don't we join forces first and find a chance to get rid of the four of them later? Regarding Zhou Feng's meaning, Longao already understood in an instant. Nodding his head with a smile, he said, Since the four of you are so sincere, then I will accept it respectfully. Please. The four of them were not excited at all. Because Longao agreed so quickly, it was definitely not something good. However, since things had already come to this, they could not choose to give up. They could only take it one step at a time and hope that they could smoothly obtain the primal chaos energy. As for dealing with Longao and the other two, that was a matter for the future. Everything was for the sake of the primal chaos energy. Otherwise, both sides would have already started a war. Because of certain benefits, both sides chose to temporarily cooperate. However, each of them had their own ulterior motives. Longao, how confident are you that you can pinpoint the location of the primal chaos energy? Miao Linger seemed to be very anxious. The temptation of the primal chaos energy was simply too great. It would be a lie if she said that she did not want it. In front of the primal chaos energy, even secret realms were nothing. How could Longao not know what Miao Linger meant? After thinking for a while, he said, Miao Linger, I'm just guessing. As for whether there is the primal chaos energy in the valley, I don't dare to be 100% sure. Even for Miao Linger, Longao was still holding back. Because at this moment, he did not dare to be sure if Miao Linger was the kind of friend that he would open his heart to. After all, friends and close friends were two different concepts. If it was anything else, it would be fine. But when it came to the primal chaos energy, even Longao would not be so generous. After all, everyone knew what the primal chaos energy meant. Miao Linger did not have the slightest doubt. If the primal chaos energy could be easily pinpointed, then everyone would be able to pinpoint it easily. Longao, what should we do now? According to my guess, if there is really the primal chaos energy here, it will definitely be in the valley. How about this, we'll split up and search for it. If there are any clues, we'll immediately inform the others. How about it? No, we don't agree. Gang Mu and the other three would definitely not agree. What kind of joke was this? If they split up and searched for the primal chaos energy, Longao would be able to find it while they wouldn't even be able to find a strand of hair. The four of them were certain that Longao was trying to lure the tiger away from the mountain. He wanted to lure them away so that he could focus on the primal chaos energy. If the four of them were to agree, then they would really be fools. Longao, we've already formed an alliance. You'd better not play any tricks on us. Otherwise, it won't be good for anyone. The four of them sneered. Since they already knew Longao's intentions, how could they agree? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.